Hello, everybody. How's it going? Aurelia is no longer ghostly. Yes, I'm sorry about that. That was an after effect of media share yesterday. Okay, let me grab the tweet. Oh, that's why I kept going to Twitter. I kept going to Twitter and just like getting lost scrolling. I hate how Twitter does that to me. Um, and then I was like, I would go back to like setting up the rest of the stream, and then I was like, wait, why was I on Twitter in the first place? Yeah, to do my go live stream. Herp derp. Where's my art from yesterday? There it is. All right. There is the tweet. Do me a favor, chat. Go give it some love. And let me grab you guys today's sauce. Huzzah! Okay. I wonder how that keeps happening. It's got to be a hotkey. Whatever. Anyways, let's get this party started. Hello, Ein. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Hotfix changes that will never be applied. So, we obviously had yet another maintenance session on NA here. I was talking with Avalon about it. Apparently, this is the fourth time. I didn't realize it was the fourth because I had forgotten that we did have a maintenance back in late June. So we are looking at basically this being the fourth such occurrence of it. It's pretty clear that they are having some sort of issue with the new update, the new engine update. So it be what it be. But again, here is today's sauce. Go give the artists some love. And yeah, I don't know why, but NA just appears to be having issues. Wait, did I not? Hold on, chat. Man, I was all sorts of discombobulated apparently when setting up for stream. That's yesterday's artwork. I gave you guys the link to it, just didn't actually put it in the stream. Jeez. But yeah, so like it looks like we basically went down for maintenance yet again earlier today. I'm gonna say just flat out that I hope it doesn't happen again. Like, I hope it's fixed. I hope that's, you know, done and gone. But if it does happen again, you guys can expect me to make a post about it. It's not going to be a good one. I'm somebody that just believes that there's a certain amount of repeated problems in which, like, yeah, I don't mind the compensation for the downtime, but there's a certain point where, look, you've been down long enough, stop compensating us and actually just extend the campaign. So that's where I will get upset with them if it happens one more time, because it's just going to be a case of, look, you're just depriving people at this point. So it is what it is. I hope Ark chooses to surprise me in daily summons. There's always that hope, but, well, good luck. They're not going to extend half cost because then they'd have to delay summer. Yeah, I'm aware. And you know what? Who cares? It's one freaking day, right? Like, but that is my entire point in all of that is, do I expect them to do it? No, but I will complain and say that that is what should happen. Because that's the truth, chat. Whether or not you feel like something will happen, whether or not the devs will actually do it, it's important to actually make your voice heard on these sorts of things. I do believe that if, oh, well, they won't do it, well, sure, then we can just always clam up and never complain about anything because we know the devs won't do it. No, I think it's important to actually let the devs know that you're pissed about that sort of thing. And I've already seen plenty of people complaining as of today about the maintenance. If it happens again, rest assured, the entire community is going to be up in arms, and they kind of deserve it at that point, because whatever the issue is, if you haven't fixed it after 3 different maintenances and it happens a 4th time, it's your own damn fault at that point. Could take a long time. Yeah, I don't care. Chat. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to pull punches, right? Like, and I feel like that's what a couple of you are wanting me to do. You're being like, oh, Cad, no, don't. No, chat. There are things that are worthy of complaining about when devs fuck up. Again, you have to hold them honest on things that are big like that, or you'll never actually get them to do what they need to do on the smaller things. So, yeah, no, as far as I'm concerned, I am well within my right to complain about that sort of thing and make that known. People can not like it. It is what it is. I'm sure people will disagree with me. I just don't care at that point. Like I said, to me, I'm going to be doing it at that point for the sake of the actual, like, community. So, it is what it is. I didn't do my Destiny order summon. Okay, but you could still. Not gone. But CAD La Single is perfect. Right, and that's the entire thing that I'm trying to say here is like, listen, I know y'all love the game. I love the game too. It is worthy of criticism when it fucks up, okay? Otherwise, we can't expect it to ever get any better. That being said, I also don't believe in heaping, unfair criticism on a game. But I think after, crap, 4 different unexpected maintenances, we can safely say there's some due criticism at that point. So it's not like it's happened, oh, this is the first time. No, this is not even the second or the third. This would be this would be the 4th this week, okay? We've already had 4, because we did have one happen back in June, so. Upgrade your sub. What are you trying to say, Twitch? Hey, give me more money. That's what Twitch is trying to say. It's like the TF2 bot issue, saying it straight is not the same as being entitled. Right. Yeah. And I think, like, where a game is going to receive unfair criticism is, like, for instance, when we see people that, like, they used to play FGO and they complained about FGO despite not playing it and knowing anything about it anymore and the way it functions. That's unfair criticism at this point. Again, I see people all the time that complain about, like, much ado about nothing, really, right? So there's definite things that, at least in my opinion, right? To them, it's probably something where, like, hey, it's a bigger deal to them, and that's why they're flapping their gums. But I'm going to be real with y'all. The big source of where I see a lot of this sort of thing is on Twitter, and Twitter does have a tendency to just complain. It's probably one of the reasons that I'm not more active on Twitter is because I don't want to sit there just complaining all day like a big chunk of the community does. That being said, yeah, I think again it's important to actually like it's why again I don't just complain for no reason, right? Like so that you guys know when I do complain, it's probably a big deal. It's there's probably an actual reason for it. And I don't mean like here on stream. You guys know I'm more than happy to extol my thoughts on the game with you guys here in a more, you know, informal format. But on Twitter and stuff like that, where you know, again, I take my presence at least somewhat seriously over there, and I'm not saying I don't take it seriously here. Just that, like, I very much watch what I say on Twitter. Yeah, no, if you see me complaining on Twitter, you know shit went down because I don't sit there and do that all the time. Yeah, the art needs to be adjusted on the left side. Yeah, it is. It's clipping, isn't it? No, it's actually fine on the left side. It's okay. My Twitter interaction is honestly finding art, lots of interesting art. Yeah, I mean, like, to a weird part, I wish people did interact with my Twitter more often because, like, I usually try to be a source of positivity on Twitter. I usually try to sit there and, like, retweet people, like their stuff, comment on people's stuff that's, like, you know, good and positive, and I don't, like, chat, I can't tell you how many times I go on there and I see somebody just bitching and causing beef with someone else in the FGO community. And I'm just like, and I just move on. Like, I just don't interact with it. There's no point. There are people that I legitimately, like, every time I see them, they are just so toxic. It just makes me not want to interact with them ever. Because, like, every word that comes out of their mouth is just either dripping with negativity or like vitriol. Like they're just perpetually angry people, and I don't get that. So but yeah, no, like I said, I do wish that people interacted with me more in that sense, but it is what it is. A little bit the Twitter algorithm functions on activity, and so these people that are spamming all of their annoying stuff all the time, they're getting more interactions. It's just like to a weird part, it's kind of funny because I've noticed like content creators, you're almost better off not doing anything on Twitter because the Twitter side of things, like the actual people that like practically live on Twitter, they just don't shut up, and they will sit there and they will constantly drown you out and circle jerk you and all that stuff. And it's like, look, maybe I just need to be more reserved and just almost never say anything on Twitter, never retweet anything on Twitter. I could do that as well because I have noticed at least that like with bigger content creators, they often don't say a whole lot on Twitter, and then when they do say something, it actually does sort of create a ripple effect because everyone starts going like, oh my god. So it may be better at that point to start saying less rather than being more active, but it is what it is. Unlimited maintenance works? Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. Twitter's only good for one thing, art safe for work and NSFW. Anything beyond that, Twitter's just trash. All right, so you're saying I should get off Twitter. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think Twitter is an interesting platform. I think it's good for people being able to get their opinions out, good for people being able to showcase their work. Honestly, I you guys know I love art. I'm a big fan of art, but I do have sort of a like misgiving over like how much art just dominates Twitter. That like an artist can like cough and it will receive like 2,000 likes. And then like you're trying your damnedest and it goes nowhere. And like that just kind of is the way it is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that artists didn't have to work to get to that point and they didn't have to build a following. They did. But it is also one of those deals where once they have, they can kind of just sit there and do whatever, and it always works out for them. Meanwhile, like as a content creator, especially one that's not big, yeah, it's like I mean this absolutely when I say this. Every one of you guys that actually goes on my posts and likes them and retweets them, thank you. I actually do appreciate that. Because, like, my shit just wouldn't have any visibility if you didn't. So it's the actual truth of the matter. So like I sit there and I go like, oh, man, I thought that was a good one, and it just doesn't perform well, and it happens all the time. Thank you so much for the new player banner analysis. As a newish player, I'd be lost without it, and I watched a good chunk of it today. Oh, good. Question about incoming banners. I'm conflicted on one in particular, which is Sinoriku. Or do you have NP5 Morgan? Yeah, you don't need Sin. Who shares the same power mod. What's your take on Morgan Sin's differences and potential value added? Excuse me. On the latter, aside from waifu value. So the latter is really only going to be different in one major way, and that's just going to be the fact that she is quick. If you want a quick based like looping berserker option, then yeah, she's going to be good. But your NP5 Morgan is just flat out going to out damage her in just about every aspect. And as long as you have the proper supports for Morgan, you should be, perfectly fine at that point. So you absolutely don't need her, and then it would just be a waifu role for you at that point. But it's up to you, right? Oh, I find it funny that it thought you were posting a link. Guess it's time for you to bust out the MS Paint skills again. In a weird way, it almost makes me want to, right? Because I'm not gonna say it's easy. It's not. It's work. But chat, work is easy. What do I mean by that? Have I ever struck you guys as lazy? Have I ever struck you guys as like, hey, CAD just like doesn't want to like actually do something? I stream day in and day out with you guys. I'm always prepping stuff. I'm always working on shit for stream. There may be some people that Link still borked. Wait, what do you mean? No, you 100% clicked the right one, right? It's gone. Why is it gone? Oh, that's troublesome. I don't know where that link went. That's very troublesome. I'll have to find that. You're more overworking yourself to death than lazy? Yeah. So it's like, oh man, yeah, you'd have to learn how to draw again. And it's like, you're saying that I would have a path to success if I just worked. Tell me more. And so maybe that's what I need to do at some point. Maybe I just need to become an artist again. Because I haven't been an artist since like, oh god, basically since I was a teenager. Cat just gave up for the day, obviously. Yes, that's what it is. I'm really torn to summon on summer banners because I really just want Space Ishtar that comes right after, but it's hard to skip Scotty. That is up to you. The only advice I can give you in that sort of situation, Kyobe, is just to look at the availability of the units. Like go on fandom, go on their page, scroll down to the bottom, and look at what other banners they have. And don't just look at the banners that are out there, but also try to think about the timing of that other banner. So like when you look at Summer Scotty and then you look at a rerun for Summer Scotty, look when the rerun is and whether or not it's near other units that you would want to roll. That's usually how I make those decisions myself, right? I sit there and I tell myself, how do I want to do this? How do I want to tackle this sort of thing? And don't get me wrong, right? Like when it comes to NA, I straight up do have a tendency to roll right out the gate or not at all. But I didn't always used to be that way. And most of that is formed by me being a content creator. How I used to do it a lot of the times was I would roll very much in a measured sense where I might either acquire a copy early and then roll for more later, or I might just sit there and say, hey, I don't like the positioning of this. I'm going to wait until this rerun banner that's coming up in a year. And then I end up, rolling at a better time for me, potentially, especially if it's a unit that I don't like desperately need right away online. Plot twist is that you're actually an AI and the real Khadroth is lazing around somewhere. Me and Trubs have a running joke at this point that if either of us had ever invented the ability to like clone ourselves, that we would let the other one in on it, because like, but the problem both of us have is that we are so busy and we cannot be in multiple different places at once. So like, chat, I would need to clone a version of myself for work. That one's obvious. We need to clone a version of myself for stream. That one's obvious. I would need to clone a version of myself for YouTube, for Twitter, for talking to artists, for basically trying to expand stream and network. That's already 6 clones right there, and I haven't even covered my household chores. So you need a manager and a team. I do. The problem is one, I'm just gonna be frank with you guys. I feel like being an FGO, I am somewhat capped. That is to say, my growth has stagnated, and there's no way to really grow much bigger than I already have. This is due to a couple of factors, and I could get into a deep dive on that sometime if people wanted me to. But basically, the problem that I run into is then, because I cannot grow the stream bigger, I cannot make more money off of the stream. And because I cannot make more money off of the stream, despite all the work that I am putting into it, I cannot afford to pay more people to help me with the stream. So as a result, it's just this sort of like cyclical death spiral type of relationship where I go, oh, well, I can't pay more people. And so because I can't pay people, I can't get people to work. I do have people that help me out and volunteer all the time, and I've made this like apparent to them at times too, that like, well, I always appreciate the help. The problem that I have is, especially with volunteer work, so that ends up just kind of causing issues as well for the content creation side of things. And you end up just in this, again, like weird loop, like I said, where you can't grow bigger to actually pay the people, because you can't pay the people, you can't get the work done to grow bigger. So it ends up in a just very odd state. What's your personal favorite servant of each class? Artoria. Your clone is going to rebel against you. Probably. I wouldn't blame my clone for it. Next summer, Scotty banner is after next summer. The issue does not appear to grow smaller. Yeah, I know. that's where it's like you're just not in a good spot banner wise for that sort of stuff, and there's not much you can do about it, right? Like, it's you just hope that at some point they bail you out in the future, but you're gonna have to pick one and go with it. And just understand that that just means that you're gonna have to then try to get the other one at some other point, whenever that point may be. So ask yourself which one you can do without for longer, and that may be your better answer there. There's not an Artoria Avenger or Moon Cancer though. True. So I should have just said a Saber Face. I wonder if we're gonna get another Annie half summer SSR this year. You might, but I don't know. Gumshoe, thank you again for the stuff. Wish FGO would stop using Twitter, just Twitch and YouTube. That would be great. I mean, like, I don't mind FGO actually using Twitter to announce stuff. I just wish that they had more of an outreach, more of a community interaction, and that they just actually, like, again, like on Twitter, they actually did answer questions and or talk with people, or that, on YouTube, they might stop, or they might comment on good content being made for the game, or on Twitch that they might come and actually visit a stream and drop in. Those sorts of things would just be amazing. And I'm not even talking about like sponsoring people or anything like that. That would just show so much more how much they actually care about the community rather than the current iteration, which shows that they just absolutely don't. God, your vid made me consider Lady Avalon now. She's really good. I didn't want to make her sound like she was totally broken and didn't have any downsides, but it does happen. Like in the sense that uh, from my usages of her, and I only have NP1 of her on JP. From my usages of her, her actual demerit is getting back to another NP. Getting to the first one, relatively easy. Getting to another one, not as easy. You kind of have to use her cards in order to get her there in a timely manner, and that can be spicy. So, like, I'm not saying she's bad. I'm just saying you have to be cognizant of that and actually, like, handle that. Is everyone quiet or is YouTube having chat issues? I see you guys. Only lurkers online right now. It's all good. Probably more people viewing on Twitch. So this is really interesting. Usually that is the case. For the anniversary stream, y'all on YouTube dwarfed Twitch, which was great, by the way. Like I was actually really surprised at how active you guys were, how much you guys were chatting, and just how much that like really made, again, the YouTube side of things pop off. I just got an ad and then it went silent, so I wasn't sure. I got you. Oh, so does the ad like actually blank the chat? I've never like I've never experienced an ad on the YouTube side of things. I've watched a couple of YouTube streams, but it was before that we actually like had ads on that end. So like I never really have experienced that. Actually, I also don't know if like an ad blocker just blocks the ads. But it be what it be. Anniversary stream aside, good. I'm glad you guys liked it. I try to like, for any of the major like live streams, I try to like be there and cover them for NA. I know Trubs always tries to cover them for JP, and that's like it's probably one of the big things that has kept us going over the years is that like enthusiasm that we see out of the community, particularly at times like that. Lotus, Raven, and Super Raccoon, thank you guys for the follows. Welcome. Are there any comps for using Tiamat outside of the obvious Koyan Oberon stuff? Planning on going all in. You could certainly use her in a multi-damage dealer type of setup. So like that, where you're gonna see Koyan and Oberon type setups is again just for like conventional like 3-turn farming with her being the engine of it. But yeah, you can always throw her in some sort of like mixed setup where you have multiple damage dealers and she manages to work. Straight up, she just straight up has her own 50% charge, and then that like what is it, 10% charge that she has on the side there as well that she can spam a little bit. So it's very nice in the sense that you can get quite a bit of charge out of her just even from a flat-footed standpoint. Which version of U-Block Origin takes care of it? I figured. YouTube streams are great. To be honest, I think it's been a better place than Twitch. Yeah, I mean, I have noticed that that YouTube, while it runs ads, doesn't seem to run them as often. I also don't know that I have any control over the ads that run on YouTube or the frequency of it. And I'm not saying like, oh, because if I did, I'd turn them up. No, I'm just saying like I haven't seen that there's any sort of setting for that. Maybe there is, and maybe I need to do a little bit more digging, but it is what it is. Whereas on Twitch, I've had to be painfully aware of the limitations of the setting, and it is not good. Tiamat can kind of be used as a pseudo support. Yeah. Is Zenobia better than Kama? What do you mean? Is the 4-star AoE Arts Archer better than the single target quick assassin or better than the AoE arts Avenger? Mine are both archers. You shouldn't have Kama Archer because that only exists on JP. Is it a Sakura face, someone that looks like Kama? Or sorry, not JP, yeah, arcade. Does Triple Scotty allow that double OG Scotty plus Oberon doesn't enable? There's certain units that are way more refund based, and they actually do work better with Scotty for certain reasons. Um, it's very rare, and in most cases, Oberon will out damage it. But the problem is in using Oberon that it might not work as well due to the way the charge actually and refund breaks down. It's very rare, but for the majority of units, you're still going to be fine with a double Scotty and Oberon type of setup. Durga. Yeah, if it's Durga, Durga's pretty much like hands down better. At least you could probably say Durga is the best AoE arts archer at the moment. Um, I do think that like both the other AoE arts archers are still very good, but Durga just kind of comes in and just has a lot of like sort of that damage power creep working in her favor. So it is what it is. What cursed word did I use? Hey, it's fine. The bot nukes people that say the forbidden name. And people have a tendency to be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he gets so triggered by this that he does that." And I'm like, I one of my mods set that up years ago, and I've never bothered to remove it because to a degree, I do find it funny how many people it catches. But also, like, I don't hold it against people. I understand it's just a thing that a lot of like new people end up saying. Seeing big crits with triple Scotty is funny. Oh yeah. Yeah, the good part about mixing and matching the two Scotties is again, I've talked about this that you actually get and we'll talk about it when we get to Summer Scotty. But you get that sort of like double coverage of cardings. Jarcher in P buff win? Good question. Next question. I don't know, right? Wait, Kama Assassin uses a bow. Are they talking about that? No, no, no. They're like, so the reason that was confusing to me is because knowing as much as I know, there is a version of Kama that is an archer on arcade. So it's like, hold on, how, right? Like, but no, that's why I assumed it's like, oh, they must be talking about Durga, which is why I said like a Sakura face that is an archer. Oh wait, that's right. I actually need Summer Scotty on this. Speaking of Summer Scotty, you guys get to see her like almost every day on the channel. You guys shouldn't have that many questions about how she works. It's really nice. What supports would you generally take with quick DPS and challenge quests for normal clear, not min turns? Well, I mean, like, I guess it depends on what you consider a min turn, right? Because like min turn is actually completing it as fast as you can. Versus, I'm just going to be honest with you. If I'm taking quick into a challenge fight, I'm probably trying to kill it in 3 turns, straight up. And the reason for that just has to do with the fact that a lot of the Scotty buffs sort of enforce that 3 turn cadence. Arts is really well off in the sense that even when its buffs fall off, it has a very easy time still getting to NPs. But quick definitely has its issues. What I would say in that regard is you could still take a unit like Scotty, particularly OG, because she actually has the survival aspect to her NP. But then you might want to take somebody else from a different discipline that can actually end up helping keep the party alive. So we're thinking like someone like Merlin or something like that that will provide healing and the invuln on an emergency that you have that capability of kind of keeping the entire party going, getting that charge in, and just sort of like popping off. And this is where like people say like, oh, well, Quick could use a Merlin variant, and I do agree. Like, I actually think that would help out quite a bit. So yeah, that's usually what I'm going to take if I'm going to be in there for a lot longer with a Quick unit. I hope to not have to do stuff like that. You might even take something like Castoria in a weird enough situation as well. But I do think it just certainly depends on what you're trying to run. Like, there are comps that use things like Doman or Van Gogh and stuff like that. So there's still various other things. I think Quick, with the current status that it's in, requires you to be the most creative with challenge compositions. as opposed to most of the others, which kind of just default into their meta supports and everything else. The only problem that you have with trying to default into the meta supports with Quick is, while you do have at least that little bit of survivability that OG Scotty can provide, you do not have sustain in any way, shape, or form. And so having the inability to kind of keep the party topped off over time and not just get absolutely beaten to death is a major issue for a lot of Quick comps. You can also try to use someone like Asaka Hime. You can maybe try to use a damage dealer like Daiko Kuten, somebody that actually does have a little bit of healing capability in their kit. Had Durga, Summer Barg, and Ptolemy all came out months from each other. Yeah, and I hate to say it, but like out of all of them, my favorite design of the three is Summer Barcast. But Summer Barcast is probably the worst of the three. Um, she's not unusable, but I really wonder like what they were doing with the refund on that unit. I feel like they knew the unit was going to be popular and it was going to sell well regardless, and they just absolutely like tanked the refund so it would not be competitive, because that is what it feels like that they did. How good is Summer Eris as compared to another Avenger like Jalter? We will end up talking about that probably tomorrow, unless I can manage to like get to it today. But I got to be honest with you guys, I'm really behind on my farming at this point due to all the maintenance and actually like spending so much time on stream making content. So I probably will pace it out here, and we probably won't do Eris tonight. Summer Okita 2.0. Summer Okita 2.0. Wait, for what? Are we talking demerits or something for some reason? Oh, you're saying because of what I was saying about Barcast. Um, no, I mean I wouldn't say that. Like, because they didn't give her demerits or anything like that. They just, her actual setup feels like it's intended more for her to be even almost like more single target than AoE. And so like looping with her gets kind of weird at times because it just feels like they didn't want you to be three turning with her. It also may have just been that they were somewhat afraid of the actual capability of a damage dealer that can change its NP type again with everything that happened with Melisson. And so that can definitely be a problem. Personal opinion, but I didn't really like the rockets for Summer Mellow. If it was Metal Gundam Dragon with missiles, that's okay, but turning her into a paraglider felt weird to me. I feel like she's less paraglider and more like jet. Like that is the meme that they were going for, is the whole jet dragon meme. So that's why she's taking off from an aircraft carrier and why she has a payload of missiles. Durga is a soccer face. Didn't know that. Yep. I popped a golden apple and then maintenance dropped. Yeah, that's, it's like I said, they're getting to a point where if it happens one more time, I'm gonna get upset with them because they've screwed so many people at this point for being able to farm. And of course, it's like, oh, this just happens to be happening right during the really lucrative anniversary banner and campaign. Oh no. Mighty Chain's too mighty. What happened with the code? We don't really know. Like I said, it's at this point, it's pretty much a very easy guess that it is some sort of issue with relation to the new engine update. So JP got this new engine update a little over a month ago. NA just got it a couple weeks ago. So JP just jumped to it on the current game state. NA jumped to it on a game state that is 2 years old. So that's how we get some unexpected problems, because all of this stuff worked and was coded for an engine prior rather than the newer engine. Popped an apple, let's do maintenance. Exactly. I didn't understand how to use apples early on. I have like 600. Oh, it's all good. Like, I honestly, to a large degree, that's kind of smart. It may have taken you a little bit longer to get up online, but now you have far more apples to use for things that you actually want to. A lot of people end up popping apples early, I feel like, just because they go like, "Oh man, I really need to farm." And I've tried to tell people that, like, again, this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. The farming is the actual end game. So a lot of people have a tendency to rush that because of how acquiring materials works in other games, but it is the long form type of thing in this one. Fuego Infernal. Thank you for the follow. The efficiency you get out of the maintenance in terms of AP. You got more out of the maintenances in terms of AP. Oh, I'm aware. I'm aware. But it can't give me time back. Having to ensure the update works for 2 years behind the game is rough. Yeah, and that's just a natural problem that they're running into because of the 2 year gap. And I hate to say this, chat, because like I don't mind having that 2 years of clairvoyance, but I have said this before that it's getting to a point that while the clairvoyance is awesome, having all the demerits that kind of occur both in the community and being 2 years behind JP is somewhat of a problem at this point. So like I'm slowly just coming around to this idea of like, yeah, it might not be the worst thing in the world if we did catch up. But the problem is the actual act of catching up would probably kill the servers. So also, chat, if anyone has MLB of the Gold Sea, can you please put it on your Coin Sky on, JP? I would appreciate that. At least it was not a 24-hour surprise maintenance. Listen, in a weird way, I was somewhat curious of what would happen if we did. Like, would they actually fix our logins? I bet they wouldn't. I bet they wouldn't. And I would be super peeved. Is your Castoria NP5 on NA? Yes. On JP? No. Logins have been fixed. They did for the one just a few days ago. Did they? I didn't actually see that if they did. That is news to me. Good. Like, that's one of those things where it's like, good, I'm glad I'm wrong, right? Like, I just got an FGO ad at least targeted. Hey, yeah, like I said, I think it's a good thing to actually see FGO ads. JP revealed their new summer art looper yet? No. No, all we got known is we did get a notification today that summer is going to be coming in mid-August after the anniversary, which isn't surprising. I think the only like weird part right now is will they like do anything before the anniversary, or is it just going to be this event and that's it? At which point I can safely say that like the first like okay, the first like oh, what the hell? So my computer really did restart. So basically, what was I trying to think of here? Uh, oh my god, that like totally reset my brain. What were we just talking about, chat? I'm actually like lost at this point. Yeah, it was summer, and then I had a point to make about the Annie. My god, this is like the hardest time I've ever had of like remembering something. Your reset me. I know. Um, this is the only event in between. Yeah. What was the point I was about to make? Crap. First half of the year is what I mentioned you're talking about. That's what I was talking about. Yeah. Okay, so like basically for the first 3 months of JP, we actually had everything like go really well. Okay, like everyone was like, "Oh man, JP's doing so good." After that, we got 2 reruns, which I'm gonna say this: the reruns I give them somewhat of a pass for because it is what the player base wanted. However, they ran them back to back, and it's pretty clear that it was being used for stalling purposes. So I'm going to let them off the hook for that. But now we've kind of got this new event where, yeah, hey, we got like one new character and stuff like that. So JP has done better this year, but in a weird way, chat, we still really don't have that much going on. There's really not like this absurdly huge like sequence of events where JP suddenly turned things around this year and is popping off. Now it's beginning to look a lot more like normal. So for instance, let's see, we had the Samurai Remnant collab. We had Valentine's. We had Chaldea Boys. Wait. Wait, did we have Chaldea Boys? Why do I like not remember this Charlemagne event? Like I remember the costume. I don't remember anything about this event. God damn, Chaldea Boys, you've got to like get something to remember you by in my brain. Holy crap. So yeah, Chaldea Boys. Then we had the id release. Which on the Holy Night was April. So as of April, they were 4 events in 4 months. Then we had the summer rerun in May, the Lilum Harlot rerun in June, and then at the tail end of June we've had Dragon Castle. So we are still 1-1. Okay? We are still 1-1. That means that we are at 7 months and 7 events. Now, chat, you might be thinking, hey, what's so bad about that, Cat? That's pretty good. No, it's not. That's terrible. The only reason we think this way is we've been conditioned to think this way over the past, like, 2 years here of just not getting good pacing for events. That means we are on pace to receive 12 events this year. Well, chat, last year we received 10, so it's better than last year. But prior to last year, the lowest amount of events we had ever received in an entire year was 15. And the difference between last year and this year is 2 reruns. So, yeah. They're still doing piss poor in terms of their pacing. I'm not going to say they're not doing better this year. They are. I think this year just kind of has been more hype. I feel like they have at least shown signs that they are listening a little bit more. But yeah, I'm still like, I haven't given them a clean check at this point. I haven't or a blank check, sorry. I haven't given them a blank check and said like, "Oh yeah, you've made it. This is now fantastic and you're doing so much better than you used to be." No. They're doing marginally better at this current point in time. As of April, it looked like they were going to do like just way better. As of like right now, I'm going to say they're okay is where they're at. And I was talking with Spartan about this in VIP last night after stream, but like I'm going to be real with you guys. And I think this is the case not just for me, but for a lot of people. This year will hinge entirely on anniversary. So I hope they do well with it. I hope they actually address some of the issues that the player base wants. And at that point, we'll see. Don't you think having some dead time between events is good? I hate it when we get like 3 events in a row. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue against stuff like that, but I do think that to a large degree, part of that is due to the cadence of the shift to 3 week events instead of 2. And I would rather they actually designed 3 week events to be completed in 2 weeks so that you can finish it because you're a diligent player and then have a week of dead time. Whereas people that maybe slacked off have a week to catch back up. I think that option, that design is good. And then you can run them back to back and there's no issue. What I think is stupid is, hey, 3 weeks of dead time, or sorry, 3 weeks of an event, 2 weeks of dead time, and then 3 weeks of an event, which is the cadence that they most frequently go on, right? I feel like lack of story is partly because of Nasu, not blaming him or anything. He's got too much on his plate. Yeah, I 100% assume that to be the case at this point. I feel like they're trying to go a little bit more all out uh with things like the story. They're trying to do it at a higher production value than it used to be, maybe. And I don't fault them for that. I think that's a good approach, basically. But I do believe that in pursuing more, in trying to go more and more over the top with story, they have almost gotten into a weird sort of thing where they may or may not have cost themselves in the sense that the pacing has gotten too slow. So, JP have the 30 million download campaign yet? No. No, and if you guys remember, we were expecting the 30 million download campaign back in like May. So, in May is when I was like, man, yeah, they're kind of due in for it. So now I'm wondering, have we not hit the 30 million downloads yet? Which is kind of wild if you think about the fact that we've had 2 collab events. We have literally had the Samurai Remnant collab and the Maho no Tsukai collab, the Witch and the Holy Night collab. So like, I thought especially Witch and the Holy Night, I was like, damn, that one's an interesting one, and I feel like that would pull in maybe even some of the FGO haters that exist in the Nasuverse fandom out there. But I'm wondering if it maybe didn't make enough of a mark at this point. So we'll just have to see. Do you think the Summer 9 event will be related to the main story? Yes. It's literally Ordeal Call prologue required. So yes, I do think that will be the case. Do I believe that it will be like a one-to-one continuation of something? No, I think it's going to have plot points that deal with stuff later on in the story, and that's where like that sort of requirement will come from. But I think, and this is something to be said at this point, that it is a case of, it looks like they are taking even some of the things that in the past have historically been more jokey, lighthearted gag events, and they are turning them into super serious story connotation type of events. I think it's crucial we have a good Annie this year. We cannot have an Annie 8 repeat. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you, Ostrom. We've said that every year for the past 3 years. Like, pretty much since coins came out, it's been a problem. So, as people, since the coins came into the game, people are not very happy with the way the devs are handling certain aspects, right? And I'm gonna say that at the end of the day, like, for instance, I've seen so many people like bitch about Annie 8. I thought Annie 8 was fine for what Annie 8 was. The biggest problem I had with it was just, again, they didn't fix any of the problems. So like, I thought in and of itself, it's offering, like, its rewards and all of that stuff, I thought that was perfectly fine. But a lot of people wanted to bitch about Ask being the Annie unit. A lot of people wanted to bitch that we didn't get as much quartz as Annie 7. And then a lot of people wanted to bitch about the lack of fixes. And like I said, the only one of those that I think is actually probably a legit complaint is the lack of fixes. The bitching is far worse than Annie 8 was. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the most people complained about the same courts amount. NE7 was the outlier. Yeah, people don't get that. Like, if you actually go back and plot out how much courts you get, not only had it been getting like very good, but they had kind of leveled it off in recent years because it had gotten like kind of absurd where they were like, holy crap, we can't just give out this much. But then NE7 is like this major outlier where it basically just they popped off. And it's because of the like actual reward that they wanted to give, the milestone that they wanted to give. So again, like I think if you're expecting it to be NE7 again, it will not be. What was wrong with Ace? A lot of people just didn't like her for various reasons. I'm gonna be real with you. I think lore-wise, I have a little bit of an issue with Ace, but design-wise, I fucking love the character. I think it's great, but it's just one of those deals where like, you know, again, like I might have an issue with it, but I don't sit there and constantly bitch about it, right? Olga Copium? Yeah, I have seen some people say that too. People were sick of Morgan. Look, and I'm gonna be real with you. I also empathize with people that are sick of Morgan. I like and straight up, just in general, sick of the LB6 wank. I get it. Like, I love the LB6 characters. I love the saber faces. So by all means, I should be somebody that should be sitting here and constantly extolling the virtues of Morgan Le Fay to you guys. But the reality of the situation is that I love the character and I don't normally try to impress that upon other people more than like you see on stream, right? And the ridiculous aspect of it to me is that while the characters are popular, they are going so hard into the characters, they're creating this weird feedback loop where if they don't keep doing the characters, they piss people off, but also because they keep doing the characters, they piss people off. So they're almost in a no-win situation because they have gone so far and so hard into the tank that now people expect it. It's the same degree with me and like the saber faces. If you don't give me a new saber face every year, I get upset. Why? Because it's always been that way in FGO. And yet you'll have the people that hate Saber out there bitching and moaning and whining that she's getting attention. And I go, look, it is what it is. I understand you don't want more of it, but one, her showing up does not mean that your favorite character was going to get another version. And two, it's one of those deals where, yeah, but if they don't do it, they piss off people like me. So, like I said, they're almost putting themselves in that weird no-win situation where they have to keep doing it. And so I really like I worry about the actual overall popularity and health of the game in that sense, that if you're not part of the LB6 circle jerk, you probably just feel totally left out at this point. Still waiting for more wins. Avenger Arturia win. Yeah. 7 was the amount of QP. 21 million doesn't go very far. Well, that's true. But at least you got the half cost, right? Pointless fights wouldn't be a problem if not for the time gates. I'm happy to do multiple fights in a row. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with like time gates. I know a lot of people get upset by them, but I'm gonna be real with y'all, and I'm gonna say that I feel like the majority of the people that are okay with time gates are people that don't play other gacha games, and the people that play other gacha games get very upset with time gates. Is usually the deal. You just not get a new version once a year. It may not be a good thing. Yeah, I'm not saying it has to even be Arturia, just a saber face, right? But like, again, I think it's a standard that they've set themselves. Whether or not it is unsustainable is their own damn fault, right? And the same thing is going to happen with LB6. So now they've given all the LB6 units their time in the sun. They have given each of them an event to be featured in. They have given each of them a new summer variant. What do you do now? You gonna keep milking it? I like that's what I'm wondering at this point is like they're either gonna piss off the crowd that wants more or they're gonna piss off the crowd that doesn't want more because they have literally created this unsustainable loop. Funny costume event for the LB6 crew. See, and like, I'll go ahead and I'll stump for the other side of that. Why the hell can't you include other people, other characters in that? Right? Like, and I get it. I agree. I think that's kind of ridiculous. Easy, thank you for the, or sorry, hello. I got stuck in the thank you for a follow because I've been saying that a lot lately, which again, thank you guys for the follows in all seriousness. Like, it's nice having new blood in the game here, especially for anniversary and stuff like that. I hope you guys have fun with it. I hope the game is not frustrating for you. If it is, let me know. Or again, my buddy CZ here, he streams almost the polar opposite time period for me. So whereas I'm on in the evenings my time, CZ's on in like the mornings my time. But if you guys ever have any questions, you can always come ask us. We want to make the game less annoying for everybody. Be nice to see at least another bronze servant explosion. Oh, yeah. Because the others don't make as much money. See, that's the interesting part, though, right? Chat, let me ask you this. Because I know the answer, and some people are going to be on copium with this answer. Who would make more money? Barcast, Morgan Le Fay, or a Rin face? So we can sit here and we can talk till the cows come home about like, oh yeah, well the only reason the other units aren't getting done is because they don't make as much money. And I'm going to say that's utter bullshit. There's definitely people out there that straight up would make more money than the LB6 crowd. And it doubly so because it's been forever since they've had an iteration. So like, while you might prefer one of the other units from LB6, the fact still stands that that other character will absolutely trounce them in terms of the desire. And that is the issue. Like, it's not that they can't do it. It's not that there's even the monetary side to this equation. And there may be, right? But I assume that's maybe not what's going on. Yeah, it probably is something like Nasu's own bias, because we know that Nasu himself just really loved LB6. So that may be the case. It may also just be a case of, like, for whatever reason, they sense that there is that popularity there, but they maybe incorrectly judge it as if, oh, well, only these units are popular right now, which is just not true at all. I still want one of our current Rin faces to get a Fate Stay Night costume. Yeah. I heard NA got the Saber Shiki NP fix early. Is this true? Can she loop on NA now? I don't know. I actually have no idea on that. I know she got the upgrade to her charge skill. Well, it was her drain, but I don't know if she actually got the NP fix yet. Because I know she still has an NP interlude out there. Wait till people realize that a Rin servant is already ready and waiting in cold storage until the time is right. Oh, I don't even think that's copium. I think that straight up is the case. I think that's been the case, and I think it's been the case for years. And that's probably what would piss a bunch of people off. Is it's not that the character's in cold storage, it's that they've been there for years. It's the panic button? No, it's not even the panic button. Okay, because like I've heard that concept before. Chat, these banners are planned over a year ahead of time. There's no such thing as a panic button in FGO. Or if there is, they plan to panic a year out, right? But I'm going to tell you straight up that at the end of the day, they just wait until it actually makes sense to do story-wise. And it may be the case, like, I'll give you guys an example, right? We can look at a unit like Erish. Why hasn't Erish gotten another version? I don't know. They may be holding on to Erish. It may be that they plan to give Erish her time in the sun with a very specific event. And because they knew about that event like years ahead of time, they developed the character and they put it there and they let it sit there in cold storage until it actually was a thing. I think we all can agree that's pretty stupid that it takes them that long to get around to some of this stuff, but it is what it is. They did, in fact, fix Shiki's MP to do death after damage. Neat. Good. Honestly, that's really nice. I wish they would do that with everyone. They haven't, and they won't, but I wish they would. Who was the servant that was data mined years before release? Ooh. I think it was Saber Astolfo. Got data mined way back in the day. We did know that Jane, Roland were around, and apparently the unit that actually waited the longest to come out from Inception was Red Hair, which is really interesting. It makes me wonder just how long they had planned Red Hair for. If I remember correctly, wasn't Khadroth drop data mine year one also? I have no idea. And like, it may have been the case that back then they had planned for them to be a thing and then they changed their plans, right? But it is what it is. Now, I'm also going to say this though, too, chat. It's very easy to have a self-fulfilling prophecy with the Nasuverse. Like, for instance, if there was a new game that came out and I said, just wait until they introduce Gilgamesh into that game, would I be prophetic, or would I just straight up have like 100% counted on the stereotype that always happens? Gilgamesh is in like everything, chat. So at that point, it's not even me like actually predicting the future. It's just me straight up going like, oh yeah, well he's always been in things, so if I say this, it'll probably be right, you know? And don't get me wrong. Well, Cat, it was data mined. That's true. It was. You may have seen parts of it. But it is what it is. And we've also had data mines be wrong before. So I'm going to assume Annie 9 is going to be another Saberface or just another LB6 servant. You might get one, but if you get one, it's going to be because of the Fate Stay Night 20th Annie. I'm willing to bet you're going to see one instead for 10th. For 10th Annie, you probably see actual Artoria again, just in the sense that that's kind of what they've done in the past. So prophecy is that Florida will get a hurricane this year. Why would you prophesize that? What is wrong with you? I don't want another one. I've had like one every single year for the past like 4 or 5 years. Stop. Speaking of Florida, will we get a Florida man as a servant? You already have one. His name is Voyager. Turns out knowing the past makes you good at identifying the future. Yeah. Kind of wild, right? We got to enjoy the remnants for Barrel the last 2 days. Yeah. I don't envy anybody that got hit by that. Screw hurricanes. They suck. But no, I mean, like, and just kind of talking about that again, right? Like, I think especially for those of us longer term players that have been playing for, like, you know, pretty much since the beginning, we remember, like, how popular certain characters were, right? Like, I'm just going to flat out tell you, like, chat, you want to know what would sell like hotcakes? Just give us Jalter in the school uniform as an actual unit. Why? People love Jalter. Like, yeah, oh yeah, another Tamamo, right? Like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter popularity-wise. The only thing that I don't have an answer to and don't know is whether or not the devs themselves realize this. That some of these characters, especially the nostalgia ones, are so hype and so popular that they could do anything with them and it will print money. But this is why I say, like, this sort of thing gets confusing for us, because I actually believe that Nasu instead looks more at the side of, like, hey, I just want to tell a good story, rather than, ooh, I want to make the most money. Because if he wanted to make the most money, he would have released a Ren face years ago, right? So you sit there and you go like, okay, well, that's really odd then. Why doesn't he do it? I don't know. It's something to do with his like desire for stories that he wants to tell, and he doesn't want to like go out of his way. So even though it would make perfect sense for the game to do that, they don't do it. Give me a goddamn high school event for the love of cute seifuku outfits. I see. Listen, you say high school event, I say bunny, I say volleyball, I say race queen. Okay, I don't care. They can do whatever the hell they want. There's some really cultured events they could pick. However, I will say that like, so I saw a story recently about this, and I believe it's absolutely true from everything that I've seen. So I remember when CZ first started playing Snowbreak when it came out. CZ was like the only person I saw playing that game. I don't think the game just got popular at all. It seemed to just be this big hunk of nothing, really. And then the devs started changing things. And they said, you know what? We recognize what our player base is comprised of. What if we just make this all Coomer bait? And all of a sudden, Snowbreak is really popular right now. Kind of wild how that works, isn't it? So, a little bit, that's the way old FGO did work. And I feel like there is this theme over time of FGO getting more and more serious. And while the story is good, because the story is more and more serious, we're getting it less frequently. And because the story is more and more serious, we're getting less sex appeal overall. And because we're getting less sex appeal overall, the game isn't as popular as it used to be. I feel like that's really all FGO needs to do to turn it around. Like, and I've told you guys before, I could fix FGO. I could straight up make FGO one of the most, if not the most popular gacha game again. But it would require change. It would require money. It would require a staff that actually can handle the workload. And can they? I don't know. You have to assume that to a degree, they would absolutely want to, if they could, hit top billing, not just, like once every month, but like every day if they could, right? So why haven't they? Well, it's probably just a case of the powers that be are not allowing it to happen. It could be a case of they don't have the money. It could be a case of they don't have the staff. It could be a case of Nasu said no. And it is what it is. Gooners spend the money? Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, to a degree, right? I think, like, when we look at gacha games, a lot of gacha gamers have a tendency to be quite young. The youngest gacha gamers absolutely don't have money. It's the people that have money in gacha gaming are the more established adults, the people that have had to like graduate from college, go out and get a job. They're the ones that usually have the money to actually spend on that, and they have the disposable income because they're single. Not like I'm speaking from experience. But basically, the idea here is that, yeah, you can absolutely end up in a scenario where you're getting those people to spend hordes of money because they are lonely and the women are hot. Heck, it doesn't even have to be women, right? It can be dudes too. So. Sell skins, that's it. I think if they tried to start selling skins out of nowhere, a lot of people would immediately recoil and be very angry. But I also feel like if they tried to sell skins, that while people would recoil at the idea, the very second that they actually showed a skin, people would immediately switch from ranting and raving to gooning. They would straight up be like, oh my god, like, yeah, oh god, I can't believe they're selling these skins, but damn, that skin's hot. Like, straight up, you know that's what they would do. Someone was asking about why am I running K-Scope on my Arcubid. Literally, it's a single support setup. That's why. I could run triple damage dealer and do it that way as well, but then I would have to find an Arcuid or something like that. So I'm just going, okay, let me go scroll down, find a single Kaya and Skya, boom. And so this setup works with single Kaya and Skya. FGO needs to bring sexy back 100%. I've said that before. And like, we get sexy at the summer events, but chat, like, look, let's be honest. Look at Mama Raiko. She is straight up a like bondage MILF. Okay, that is the stereotype that's going on there. You cannot tell me that was not designed 100% with sex appeal in mind. Like, straight up. We still get waifu servants? We do. We just don't get as many as we used to. Zenobia? Yep. Yeah, you guys can find in the past couple of years here several examples of really good characters. Chat, I used to hear FGO described as the game where everybody was sexy. And I think for a large part that was true. Nowadays, not so sure about that. Shooting all ASMR? Yeah, I mean, listen. Yeah, y'all can talk all you want about Ibuki, but god damn the shooting voice. God damn the shooting voice. Nikkei owns that crown now. I mean, yeah, I'd say like to a degree, Nikkei has gone so far in like that direction though that they've almost gone too far. Like, it's not even just sex appeal at this point. It's like blatant and it's practically porn. I've heard people try to call FGO softcore porn. And I'm like, huh? Nikkei? Nah, man, Nikkei is. Like, straight up. How come the caster shooting doji event never got the rerun? I don't... No, it did, didn't it? Didn't we get Oniland as a rerun? Could have sworn we did. Yeah, okay. I was like, hold on. I missed the America event. All the males were shirtless. Now males put on more clothes to power up versus females. Yeah, I don't know why they do some of that stuff. And the summer skins right now on it, it's insane. Yeah. Nikkei is too much. It's a bit stupid. Well, I've said this before too. Like, I just good luck. Like I could go and I could take FGO out there and like my coworkers could see it and they probably wouldn't judge me. Maybe if I had like all the swimsuit servants on the screen, they might. But like, for instance, if they saw this, they would just be like, they would judge me just because it's an anime game. They would not judge me because it's like, oh, this is like some Coomer bullshit, right? If I tried to take Nikkei out in public, yeah, no, everyone's gonna look at you like you're some sort of like pervert, straight up. Like that's the problem you're gonna have. I've already had coworkers ask me what FGO is. Yeah. There are C's and Final Ascension arts that are on the porn line. Oh yeah, I agree with that. Like, there's definitely some risque stuff in FGO. It's just not everything is. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, look at Arcuid in this form. This isn't even her second form, chat, but she definitely looks sexy here, right? She is that, like, sleek, like, cultured sexy, though. It's showing skin, but sexily. Not in a way that's like, oh, hey, I'm just bearing all. It's, hey, I'm covered up, but I look hot. Sexy but tasteful, yeah. Look at America Fergus, Beowulf, then look at Roland, proclaimed nudist, who has more clothes on. Yeah, I actually find it somewhat funny that Roland does not have like an ascension form that is pretty much naked, but I'm probably okay that he doesn't. With bunny girls and summer girls, full burst art and lobby. Oh yeah, like so straight up, like this one probably not going to get anything weird unless they actually start looking downward and see that like low key her corset straight up is like a leotard. Um, Not going to get any bad looks for that one, chat. Not going to get any bad looks for that one. Not going to get any bad looks for that one. And this just happens to be who I have in the party at the moment, right? But like straight up, like, yeah, if I had all the summer units in the party, I probably would get a dirty look. Yang and her Kipao. At least like on this screen, no, you're probably fine. Because you see it mostly from the front. And remember, it's like when the booba and the groin are covered up, you're probably okay. When they're not, that's where you start getting people going, hold on. Is the summer planned around the comic market? I don't know. Usually we have summer like late. Well, it's kind of been like mid-August most years. Some years it crept all the way back into September, which I thought was stupid. But that's usually where it is. It's usually early to mid-August. So like, no, I don't think it necessarily is because I think chat isn't Comic-Con like in July, or am I misremembering? I expected Roland's third ascension to just be a cloud or a loincloth. Yeah, I agree. That's what I was thinking it was going to be. But somehow it's not, and I'm not going to complain in that regard. Okay, chat. It is time to talk Summer Buki. So I'm going to need a minute real quick here to prep. Oh, well, I guess I didn't need to pull that one over. We could just quickly jump to it right here. I am so happy that we already have a whole bunch of these videos done, by the way. I feel like if I didn't at this point, that I would be somewhat mentally drained. Which in a weird way, because we did it all, I am somewhat mentally drained, but it is what it is. Just refreshing my memory here. Yep. She's Berserker, so her third one's crap anyways, but... Yep. Yep. Mentally drained is a good way to put it. Oh, like, so chat. I never really thought this was the case, but, because, like, to me, school came easy for me for the most part. And yeah, like, in college, I had to do, like, some longer studying sessions and stuff like that. But I never really got to the point that, like, once I started working, once I started streaming and juggling both those things, neither job is strenuous physically. I don't do that much physically to be like, again, physically drained. Mentally? Oh man, mentally it feels like somebody, scooped my brain out of my skull, threw it onto the sidewalk, and let it cook under the like 120-degree heat. That's what it feels like some days. And the interesting part is how physically tired that makes you. When you are mentally tired, you are physically tired. And I never really got that until a couple of years ago. And dear God, I it's still like wild to me at how actually drained you can be just from overexerting your brain. Okay. Hey, Chad, don't we have season 2 of Nier Automata out now? Ooh, chat might not like these numbers. Okay. Yeah, that's a funny one. Okay. All right. Yeah, I had to make sure I was good on that. Final Ascension art is definitely nice. It'll have an even better arts looper came out this summer on JP. Um, I don't know. I wouldn't anticipate it. It's difficult for them to make it better without it just being flat out more damage at this point, right? So it'd be what it be. What? Nut? Yes. Okie dokie dookie. Let me switch screens here. Meta lovers are seething while I Scotty loop over everything. Yes, exactly. Let me fix the artwork there, chat, and we should be good to go. Oh, there is one thing I want to check. Have we really? Have we not had another banner for Musashi Berserker? We did this year? She's coming like now? Thank you. Very cool fandom. Very, very cool fandom. You click on it and it's like, oh, no, there's nothing actually there. Okay, let me go check the bulletin. Doesn't look like it. There's the Samurai Remnant collab. Was she... That's GSSR, by the way, chat. Where's my 2024? Nani? Daily rotation for Annie for Musashi at the moment. Talk about NA? Fandom, fuck off. You know better than to do this. Like, you straight up combined the lucky bag and the summoning campaign into one link. No, you fucking idiots. That is how you confuse people. Good God. Like, yeah, I mean it is, don't get me wrong, but it's also it's not. It is a separate summoning campaign. It is not the same as the lucky bag. The lucky bag is your GSSR. Then there's the daily summoning pickup and the normal pickup. So it did happen at the same time? Oh, it did, but it's a separate banner, so they should not have detailed it that way. Like, that's just laziness on their part, and I don't like it when they do that sort of stuff. Don't get me wrong. fandom is maintained by volunteers, but like it's also maintained by volunteers that you have to like apply to be allowed to like edit the stuff. And while I don't blame them for that, chat, where do you apply? It's not really made apparent in any way, shape, or form on the pages. So, like, yeah, 100% it's tucked away, and it's something that I feel like they kind of hold themselves in high regard in that point. So, I appreciate all the work that fandom's volunteers do, but there are times that they have just absolutely dropped the ball. And this is now twice that I have been screwed by this in recent memory. So, like, yeah, I'm kind of like, please stop. Please just be a little bit more thorough. That's all I ask, right? Like, that way we actually have an accurate wiki to rely on instead of crap. But yeah, okay. So Musashi, she has one right now. And chat, you guys are saying that there should be one during the Samurai Remnant collab. Let me double check. Darty, thank you for the 65. How you doing today, bud? Avalon would be running himself ragged if he helped with fandom. Avalon shouldn't have to, right? Like, yes, because I got her with it. Indeed, she is. Now, and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna give them more of a pass for Samurai Remnant not being here. You know why, chat? One, the year isn't over yet. Two, JP has started just absolutely like shelling out banners. So I understand it taking them a little bit. But in comparison, I find that to be a less egregious offense than, hey, we just straight up detailed this banner completely wrong. So that's kind of why I'm pointing that out, right? Like the other one is misleading. The latter one is just they simply haven't done it yet. They haven't put it on there. So, but okay, yeah, it's good to know that that's when that happens. Now let's go check Ibuki because I wanted to see this basically before we did. That face. Wait, did I already pass it? Yeah, I already passed it. Arctic Summer World right here. Lucky bag, 8th lucky bag. Destiny Order campaign and the Summer Rerun campaign. When was this? Back in 2023, I guess? Yeah, here. August, September 2023. During Summer 8, yeah. Oh, that's spicy that they threw this out in Summer 8. That's mean. Age, they give you the resub, they give you the 46. Appreciate it, my man. Destiny Order shouldn't count since it's every SSR. I mean, in that regard, so are the lucky bags, right? Like, so I'm okay with it in that regard. I'm okay with them detailing it. My only point is that they basically made the other banner look like it was a lucky bag, and that's dumb. You should not have to know that a character has a banner to be able to have figured out that that was not in fact the lucky bag, right? So that's my issue with it. Okay, but no, I wanted to know when the next banner for each of these was. So basically, Musashi has one currently on NA, and we'll be getting another one as of the Samurai Remnant collab next. And then Ibuki has one now, and then it's going to have one during summer next year. What? Come on, website. There we go. I don't blame the volunteers for that one. That's just their shitty domain. That's fandom itself's fault. Yeah, do I really need to put in here more than Black Grail? Oh my god, what are you doing? The Zerk Black Grail? Actually, that's a good point. We can actually point that one out since this is a Berserker. Oh god, what is that one called? There's Mud Rain. Wait. When do we get Mud Rain, chat? That's soon, isn't it? Yeah, because here's Ice Warrior right here, which is the current event coming up. The Mud Rain is soon. They're only, let's see, 12 apart. Was it this far back? Huh? No, it's definitely not this far back. Did I miss it? Nani? Huh? Phantasmal Princess? I have no idea why it's not showing up there, though. Thank you, chat. I was gonna say, we already have it on an A, so I don't know why it's not there. You passed Ocean Flyer twice? No, I wasn't looking for Ocean Flyer. I was looking for this. That's why I was like, huh? Is Mud Rain an event C? No. No, Mud Rain is another permanent addition to the roster. I wish Mud Rain were an event C. I would have wailed for it straight up. Like, and no regrets, right? Like, Mud Rain is a very, very nice craft essence, and I'm not sure that that everybody actually understands how good it can be on select units. It's not the best craft essence for a lot of units, but if you're a unit that's like you've got a very powerful overcharge effect, or you're a unit that your overcharge effect increases your own charge, it can be very strong for them. It finally, like, in all seriousness, Mud Rain basically puts every other overcharge craft essence to shame. Straight up. Also good art too. Yeah. It's very, very good. And we will be able to start like suggesting it on a lot of these as it starts to come to NA. Because again, like for the most part, while my guides can obviously be useful to JP players, I always talk about how the units are performing on JP ahead of time so that NA knows where it's headed. But I mostly do craft essence selections with NA in mind. I do occasionally throw in JP specific CEs or things that are unreleased but about to come out type deal. But usually it's NA specifically on that. Okay, anyways, let's get started. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about Ibuki Doji Berserker, aka Summer Ibuki. So, Summer Ibuki is coming to us with the second banner here of the Arctic Summer World event. That's going to be this year's summer event. She's going to be paired alongside Utsumi Eris Avenger, who's probably the best 4-star available on the summer banners as well. So, you're going to see a lot of people rolling either for Ibuki or for Eris. Either way, I'm still going to try and make the case here for Ibuki primarily, but there's a lot to be said about Ibuki. In fact, I would argue there's probably two different camps with regards to anything that you want to try and mention about Ibuki. There's the camp of people that really want Ibuki, and there's the camp of people that probably don't want to have to roll Ibuki. Now, I'm not trying to denigrate either side here. I'm just trying to point out that there are basically two types of people here: the people that really want her, and then the people that are maybe trying to avoid her, either because they already have really good replacements, or because they're probably trying to roll the other units on the summer banners, and thus they're in a weird position with how sort of, again, desirable a lot of these units end up being. So Ibuki is going to be interesting for that reason. And then things get even more interesting when we start to consider how things have panned out now on JP. Because Ibuki Doji, when she first comes out, is, well, a little bit of a lightning rod in the community, where a lot of people just started going, whoa, hold on, we have this sort of new meta queen that's coming out, and she is just going to absolutely be this one-size-fits-all solution to everything. Now, the truth of the matter is, she actually was not a one-size-fits-all solution to everything, and at the same time, we also ended up seeing a unit that was somewhat competitive with Ibuki, ending up eventually getting a very nice NP interlude, and that was Musashi Berserker. So you're going to see a lot of debate raging in the community over that, probably again when the banner starts to come out. You're going to see a ton of people asking questions about the overall performance of this unit. We're going to break all of that down for you right here. So again, hopefully this will answer every single one of your questions. Now, to begin with, Ibuki Doji Berserker is a limited summer unit. You could expect her to not have very many banners at all because of that, but we do already know that her next returning banner is going to be during the Summer 8 event. That is to say, if this is Summer 7 currently right now, you're going to be headed into next year, which is going to be the sort of LB6 summer with Berserker Castoria and Ace, as well as multiple other characters that are going to be involved with that. And during that event is where you're actually going to get a rerun of this summer's banners. That's where you'll be able to roll Ibuki again. So if you're considering, hey, what do I do in terms of maybe I don't want to have to roll Ibuki just yet, that would be potentially your out. Just again, remember that it's going to be during the next summer, so that's maybe not the best time either. With regards to Musashi, just bringing her up, she actually has a banner right now on NA that is available, and she will get a banner again during the Samurai Remnant collab about a year and a half later from now. So again, you do have multiple opportunities to roll her. But we're going to end up having to talk about Ibuki Doji in the context of her being not only a berserker, but her being a just sort of catch-all damage dealer, as well as kind of her competition with other berserkers and how she can work. So let's go ahead, dive on into her kit, and talk about how she can be very strong for you. Now, to begin with here, you guys can see that Ibuki just immediately slaps you in the face with almost 13,000 attack power. That is very strong. Obviously, berserkers are a little bit more oonga boonga. Her being a 5-star AoE arts berserker, though, that can loop quite a bit, certainly really nice. So then when we see this attack stat, we know that even if her stuff begins to fall off, she will still hit hard. She's just naturally going to have a very high attack stat, and berserkers being as they are, they're almost always effective. So yes, it's a fantastic thing to see just how much attack power she actually has. The flip side here, though, is she has one of the worst attack stats of all 5 stars. Sorry, not attack stats, HP stats. So you're going to be very concerned with her with regards to actual staying power, if not for the fact that she's actually an arts unit. So again, the fact that she's an arts unit means that she can be paired alongside some of the very well kitted out arts supports in the game. You have numerous options to pick from, numerous people to help keep Ibuki alive. Her being a squishy berserker is going to be a concern, but with regards to her being arts, you should have some capability of actually allowing her to last down the stretch of a fight. So from here, we can see that she is a Sky attribute. She is also an Aoyuki attribute, and she basically ends up having very low star absorption. It's actually lower than normal star absorption for berserkers by 1, but well, the difference between 9 and 10 is not really a lot. You weren't going to be soaking stars with her anyways without doing some sort of shenanigans. So, probably not the biggest of concerns in that regard, because again, Berserkers just always have bad star absorption. She does have a little bit less than average star generation as well. This is again due to the fact that she's an arts unit, but again, probably not the biggest of concerns because the raw power that we're going to be getting out of Ibuki is going to be what we're really looking for. Her NP charge attack rate is actually probably a little bit concerning. It's only a 0.38. And that may be a reason that a lot of people would look to this and go, wait, hold on. The reality is you're probably not going to care too much because Ibuki does refund still quite well and manages to have charge in her kit, so we don't really care the majority of the time. She does have the 5% NP charge defense that a lot of Berserkers have, so if she does get hit, at least you will get a lot of charge out of it, though again, with that HP stat, you really don't want her to get hit that often. Her death rate is about 32.5%, which is a little bit higher than average. It just is what it is. And she is chaotic summer alignment, so she does at least have that sort of rare summer alignment that's going to allow her to not be susceptible to a lot of other alignment-based exploits that are out there. Her gender is going to be female. She is an animal characteristic servant, a costume-owning servant, demonic beast servant, divine spirit, divine, dragon, giant, goddess servant, immune to pigify because why not make the list longer, levitating servant, non-hominide servant, oni servant, seven nights servant, summer mode servant, and weak to enemy elish. So the good news is that there's a lot of beneficial traits for her here. And the good news for anybody having to face Ibuki is that she is one of the most vulnerable servants in the game. There are numerous traits that you can exploit here to your advantage. So at that point, yeah, it's good at both ends because the player is going to get a lot of benefit from it, and you having to face it as an enemy, you're going to get a lot of benefit from it. Her deck here is maybe not what a lot of people had hoped in the sense of it being triple arts, but she does kind of harken back to her more Unga Boonga, saber form. That's a buster based unit, and she is a berserker on top of it. So yes, you still get the 2 buster cards here as well as 2 arts cards. She only has a 3-hit arts card, which is again perhaps a consideration given the fact that she does have the low NP charge attack. But she does have the stuff in her kit, and you do have the pairing of supports, hopefully, to be able to use alongside her to really help address this issue. Other than that, the 4-hit Buster card is the only one that is above average. Everything else is average. So at least her Buster card will be fairly good, not only for damage, but also for star generation, even though you're not going to have the greatest of star generation on this unit to begin with. Talking about her actual kit now, her first skill here increases the party's attack for 3 turns, so it's just a very nice charisma of up to 20% there, and it's going to increase the party's critical damage for 3 turns by 30%. So again, another really nice thing here. These 2 aspects in particular are going to allow Ibuki to be used not only as a primary damage dealer, but also in conjunction with her second skill as well, potentially even a little bit of a unit that can function in a multi-damage dealer setup, or even as a pseudo-support at times. I'm going to say trying to call her a support is probably not the best way to identify her, because taking any support would probably be better than just trying to use Ibuki as the support. But sometimes you might just be able to get away with it, so it's not a bad thing to consider in that regard. She's also going to increase the NP generation rate of Summer Mode Servant allies for 3 turns. Just so that we're aware, this is basically every unit that has a actual summer variant. That is, again, going to be a very nice thing. And you can see here that this is going to be a 30% NP gain increase. It's also going to work for just about everybody that has a costume for summer as well. So this is going to apply to quite a bit of people and can allow not only Ibuki to pop off, as she will qualify for this, but also, again, any other potential summer unit you try to pair alongside her. Now, you can see here, again, she is on a 6-turn cooldown. That is certainly going to be a thing, but we are dealing with a arts unit, not a buster unit. The reason I'm going to bring this up is because Ibuki's second skill here actually reduces a target's skill's cooldowns by 1. This skill itself is also on a 6-turn cooldown, so this means that both the first and the second skill here are basically 5 turns if you use this skill on her, and it does mean in pairing with someone like Tamamo that you'll be able to get back to things even faster. You can also see here that the rest of the skill is targetable as well, as it is a targetable arts and buster performance of 3 turns by 30% each. So again, you have a party-wide type of skill with the first skill, and you have a targetable skill with the second skill, meaning that she works very well in a sort of, again, team-oriented setup, rather than everything just being focused on her. You certainly can use her as the ultimate damage dealer in that regard, but you can also slot her into these sort of multiple damage dealer types of setups to allow them to flourish as well. Now, we get to the third skill here, and you guys can actually see that, again, you're going to have the ability to charge her own NP gauge by 50%. So if we did have any concern about the overall NP gain of Ibuki, it kind of gets erased by this. Ibuki is going to be an AoE Arts Berserker that refunds okay and has a 50% charge skill. That alone is just going to make her super adaptable and super usable. She's also going to gain crit stars every single turn for 3 turns, up to 10, and increase her own critical star absorption for 3 turns by 5,000%. So remember, as we were talking about those rather anemic critical star generation and critical star absorption stats that she has because she's a Berserker and because she's an arts one at that, we don't really care because we are manufacturing stars per turn and we are soaking them all to her. Again, at 5,000%, this is certainly enough to allow a Berserker to actually begin to soak the stars. So it's a very, very nice synergistic skill that is going to allow her to pop off in terms of crits. This one is also on a 6-turn cooldown. So again, you can reduce the entirety of Ibuki's kit down to 5 turns in that regard. But I do feel the need to come back here and mention the fact that this skill has other applications. That is to say, you can use it on other people to reduce their skills instead. One of the more commonly known and talked about reasons for this is to use her alongside a unit like Arcuid that will allow her to sort of replace or further augment something like a Mystic Code being used. So it does allow for at least that sort of open-ended type of, again, enhancement of another damage dealer. Keep in mind, though, this is not a requirement. I have seen people before that kind of tried to say, oh, I needed to roll Ibuki for Arcuid, but the reality was you really didn't. Arcuid does work just fine with anybody that can reduce skill cooldowns, let alone someone like Ibuki. Ibuki just is another very good option in the fact that she herself has 50% charge. She can start out with a maxed mana loading. Combining that with, again, someone like Arcuid's third skill after her NP, and you're going to get 30% more charge from that. So Ibuki can get to an NP alongside Arcuid without any actual starting charge being required. That does allow for some potential synergy there, and that is why this gets mentioned quite a bit. But it doesn't stop there. You could use this on other units, even maybe a challenge type of support, someone where you're really worried about actually being able to stay alive and you just need that cooldown back in time to keep the party going. Boom, there you go. Having skill cooldown reduction is always going to be better than not having it because it's going to allow you to get back to your stuff even faster. Now, we get to look at the passive skills here. She has Madness Enhancement E, which is certainly not her strongest. It's only a 2% Buster performance, but then we get Dragonkind EX, granting her 12% Buster performance, making this functionally stronger than the strongest Madness Enhancement in the game, which is rather odd. I'm not sure why they felt the need to necessarily do that. It is a harkening back to her Saber form, but yeah, it is what it is, and they ended up basically ending up giving her a ton of extra Buster scaling for those Buster cards that she has. She also gets a flat damage reduction here with damage cut added to it. And then she also ends up with her own unique form of divinity, increasing her flat damage by 250, and then giving her buff removal resistance of 20%, almost as if she had a sort of maxed out magic resistance stat. So again, her passives here are rather compact, but they are very good and very powerful. She doesn't have a ton of broken ones, but they are just going to make her even stronger. With regards to Ibuki's appends, I highly recommend the mana loading because, again, it's an AoE Arts Berserker, so you know this is going to just be very good for her. She does have 50% charge as well. This is going to allow, again, that sort of scenario where just between the starting charge of the maxed out mana loading and her own charge skill, you've got 70% charge right there, no other factor being considered. If you are managing to loop with her, this is maybe even less sort of skills that you would require on her on the first turn, allowing you to delay, say, maybe a Castoria 20% NP gain skill until the second turn, maybe making it a little bit easier on you if you needed to try and stretch your charge. So there are numerous reasons that you would want the mana loading, be it as a devoted 3-turn looper or as a member of a multiple damage dealer type of setup. Either way, yes, this is going to be my recommendation for what you should get first. The third append is absolutely crap. I don't recommend investing in it. In fact, if you guys are trying to maybe 120 your Ibuki or something like that, I highly recommend just outright skipping this one. Why? Because it's a Berserker one, and thus the Berserker third appends almost always to a T are not that good. The reason why is because, again, they are very specific in what they allow you to do. It's not like with other units where it's like, oh, hey, if you are facing this class, you get more damage. With a Berserker, it's if you are facing this class, you have less of a chance to be crit. And while that might sound okay in a challenge environment, if we're just talking in terms of overall usefulness, one, you don't want your Berserkers getting hit in the first place. And two, if they do get hit, I hope you have enough capability of keeping them alive. But when we start to consider the fact that, again, in this case especially, it's an alter ego, you're not going to be encountering them very often, and it's not really going to be a case like we mentioned of you wanting to get her hit. So this just kind of is a relatively useless third append, and as a result, we're going to instead recommend going with the extra attack finesse as the second append of choice. That is going to be by far the better one, as again, it's just going to help extend the damage that Ibuki can do. And not just that, because again, the extra append finesse here actually does improve star generation and NP generation as well. So it's definitely a very nice thing should you have the coins for it. Now we get to Ibuki's Noble Phantasm, and right here you guys can see it's an AoE Arts 5-hit Noble Phantasm, so certainly not the worst in terms of hit counts. It's not the best either, but it will be enough. It will be good enough in consideration with, again, the 50% charge skill and all the art supports you'll probably be surrounding her with. So she will be able to 3-turn for you. She will be able to do it from a very low starting charge standpoint. You can also see here that she's going to remove all enemies' defensive buffs, activating first. Now, a bit of a PSA on this that I always kind of have to say whenever we see this. Consider the following. What does this do? This removes everything that could be used to stop your damage. Asterisk. It does not remove Guts, which is not a defensive skill because it's a restorative, regenerative skill. It's also not going to remove any defensive skill that is blocked in by an actual challenge or story fight gimmick. So if you've ever noticed some of these buffs having, say, a white box around them underneath a servant, that's what that is. It is an unremovable skill. So if you come up against a unit that has an unremovable skill, this isn't going to do anything to it. So be careful of that if you try to use Ibuki in those types of challenge environments, because you might find yourself thinking, oh, she's got defensive buff removal, I'll be fine. And then you don't remove it and you go, oh crap. So make sure at that point that you do have some sort of like maybe invuln pierce or something that you manage to bring along in order to help that out. From there, she's going to deal damage to all enemies, and she's going to reduce their critical attack chance by 20% for 3 turns. So certainly you do have the capability of at least reducing the enemy's chance to crit against her already, as long as you've managed to MP against them. From here, we get to the absolute doozy that is her overcharge effect, and that is super effective damage against enemies with the Earth attribute. This is, again, 150% modifier. It is very strong, and due to the fact that Ibuki is a berserker, the world is sort of her oyster at that point. It basically means that everybody that is Earth traded, short of, again, like a foreigner, you're pretty much going to be able to deal not only effective damage, because again, berserkers can deal at least 1.5 times effectiveness, but also get that super effective Earth double dip there to allow you for even more damage. That's going to be really nice for Ibuki. That is one of the reasons that Ibuki just comes out and ends up being insanely strong in certain circumstances. We already have that sort of super synergy that you have with a lot of Buster units, and Koyanskaya having the man attribute buff that she can confer. So having a unit like Ibuki that's also sort of a one-size-fits-all that handles a lot of the Earth attribute is definitely a nice thing, as it's going to mean that you could potentially have multiple of the 3 major attributes covered very easily in that sense. So in that regard, then we can talk about refund, but first let's talk about actual charge. So first and foremost, the, again, Craft Essence recommendation that we're going to give to you is going to be Black Grail. Summer Ibuki can start from 0 in most, if not all, situations. So yeah, Black Grail is just sort of the no-brainer. It is the game's best damage boosting Craft Essence, so it is the one that we're going to go with. If you don't have a option like Black Grail, there is obviously the lesser rarity ones or more common ones like Heaven's Feel, Angel's Song, and Dragonkin. Each one of those is going to be at least a decent replacement. But due to the fact that we're dealing with Ibuki, who is a berserker, we can also recommend Phantasmal Princess. This is a newer Craft Essence, but it is very similar to Black Grail. It does not scale in attack as high as Black Grail does, but it is another option for you, that for those of you that manage to have gotten it, as it will increase the NP damage of berserker units that it is equipped to. So this is going to work for a unit like Ibuki, and that's why we're going to end up recommending it as a sort of bootleg Black Grail for those of you that maybe have managed to stumble into it. If you just so happen to need starting charge, Ocean Flyer is going to be sort of the recommendation here, as again, it is all attack scaling, it is a welfare CE, and it does allow for NP damage and arts up. And remember, NP damage is going to be something that we're going to be watching closely, because in a lot of scenarios in which you're farming, that third support might be someone like Oberon that can manage to, again, double boost any source of NP damage. So definitely a nice thing there. Now, let's go ahead and let's talk refund here. So with regards to Summer Ibuki's actual refund numbers with this NP, remember, she had the relatively low base NP gain stat. She did have NP gain in her kit, but she didn't really have a source of arts up outside of her targeted skill, and it was only 30%. So she actually doesn't have a whole lot of modifiers to it. So what's going to end up carrying her here is actually going to be, again, that 50% charge a lot of the time. And the reason that I'm going to say this is because basically with Ibuki in a double Castoria setup. Now, keep in mind, this is against neutral enemies, and you're almost never going to be facing a neutral enemy as a berserker, but we're doing it just for the sake of, again, sort of equivalency across all of our comparisons that we do. So 2 times Castoria against neutral units, you would be looking at basically, I'm going to say 82%. 82% with 3 out of 15 hits of overkill. So that's against 3 enemy waves. That is the 5 hits against the 3 enemies for a total of 15 possible hits. So if 3 out of the 15 hits are overkill, aka you killed the enemies, because if you even kill an enemy, you will get one hit of overkill against each of them, you would be getting 82%. Now, if you got no hits of overkill, maybe you're in a challenge environment, you didn't kill them, this number drops down to about 75%. It's actually 74.73, but it is what it is. In order to achieve a full 100% refund with just double Castoria against these supposedly neutral enemies, you would end up needing 10 out of 15 hits of overkill. That starts to get to the spicy level. It's very difficult to get that amount of overkill hits. Usually about the halfway mark is, after that point, it's difficult to get that much in terms of hits. Under the halfway mark, it might still be possible depending on the health of the enemies that you're facing, but usually upward in this is a relatively unachievable number. The good news is, this is against neutral enemies. And as we already mentioned, Ibuki is going to be at least 1.5 times effective against most things, so you can expect the refund numbers to be a little bit north of there. You may be able to, again, have that scenario where, because you're a little bit more effective, you are getting more hits of overkill, and because of that, you are refunding more. But maybe not. It just depends. Either way, don't expect Ibuki to necessarily full loop all the time unless you're taking a third support that also boosts, again, things like NP gains. So maybe someone like Shufu, Nero Bride, Paracelsus, you name it. Heck, even a unit like Tamamo as well can. So any of those scenarios, yes, with a third support that would also be adding in, you might be able to loop back to 100% in full. But otherwise, with just double Castoria, don't expect it too often. She does have good refund, but it's not crazy broken refund. Now, in that regard, talking about her against Berserkers, the numbers get a little bit worse, but that's just because, not only is it Berserker on Berserker violence, but it's also just going to be one of those deals where Berserkers are actually the worst class to gain NP off of. So in that regard, with 3 out of 15 hits of overkill, you would instead be looking at something only like about 66%. So it does start to get significantly worse. But the good news is, again, we are probably dealing with very good art supports that have tons of charge or tons of NP gain stats. And again, you have Ibuki having 50% charge, so it's not that crazy. Talking about it against 2 neutral enemies instead of 3 this time with double Castoria, you're looking at 2 out of 10 hits of overkill being right about at 55%. So you're looking at, again, at least hitting that 50% benchmark. That's going to be very good because you're probably going to be able to recover from that. So again, 2 enemy waves, certainly not impossible for Ibuki. And as we start to look at 2 enemy waves against Berserkers, again, 2 out of 10 hits of overkill ends up being about 44%. So it does get worse, but not appreciably so. You might still be able to claw your way out of that one. Now, with that in mind, we can begin to talk about the actual charge scenarios for Ibuki. Excuse me as this is zoomed in a bit here. But basically, our first scenario is going to be a 3-3-X type of node setup. So again, 3 enemies in the first wave, 3 enemies in the second wave, and we don't care how many enemies in the final wave against neutral foes. Like I said, you're probably not going to be neutral most of the time, but just to kind of demonstrate this for refund purposes here, you guys can see we don't require an append, we don't require a CE, we go ahead and pop all the Castoria skills turn 1, and even an Oberon 20% charge turn 1. That's going to get us up to 120%. We're going to fire off that first NP. She is going to refund about 82% right there. You're going to go ahead and pop her 50% charge skill. She's going to be way overkill at that point. And then boom, in wave 3, you're going to get the 82% again, and you're going to pop Oberon's 50% charge skill and fire off the NP one final time. So you have more than enough refund in the scenario, and you probably are asking yourself, well, then why do I need Oberon? Well, you'd be taking Oberon for damage. But yes, you absolutely could mix in someone like Proto Merlin, like Tamamo, or heck, even, someone that's way less. Maybe even a Helena or something like that might manage to do the job for you. So at the end of the day, yeah, as long as you're having that double Castoria setup, you're pretty well set up for success with Summer Ibuki. Taking a look at option number 2 here, this is going to be against 2 neutral enemies. It's pretty much the same as against 3 enemies that are berserkers. So at that point, you guys can see it's exactly the same scenario. The only difference is the amount of refund have changed drastically. They are much lower, but because we already have the 50% charges, we're perfectly okay. And we were still so much okay that, again, any 50% charger here would have worked. Basically, we still managed to go ahead and kind of waste Oberon's first charge kill in the first turn. It's not a waste because it's improving damage, but it's just a sense of we didn't actually need the charge from it. And that's going to allow you to complete the 3-turn loop in the exact same way. Next up here, we've got 3 times Summer Ibuki against neutral with a twist. This is going to be with much lesser supports in that regard. So maybe a support Castoria, your own Shufu, and maybe a Proto Merlin that you maybe have just rolled. Boom, there you go. You actually managed to still make a 3-turn loop out of something like this. You're going to start out with a maxed out mana loading skill on Ibuki. Basically pop all of the Castoria skills. That's going to get you up to 70% right there. And then you're going to go ahead and pop all of Shufu's skills as well, including her 30% charge. And that's going to bring you up to full and allow you to NP. You'll probably want to have rotated out for Proto Merlin already and slap the arts up that she has on Ibuki. And that's going to end up getting you to 89.35%. So from right there, you can just go ahead and use basically Proto Merlin's own 20% charge skill that also gives increased overcharge should you so choose. And that will allow you to, again, basically get back to 89.35% and then pop Ibuki's 50% charge skill. If maybe you wanted the extra super effective damage against Earth for the 3rd wave, you could also just flip-flop these last 2 skills, basically putting Proto Merlin's skill on the actual, 3rd turn and basically moving Ibuki's 50% charge skill into the 2nd turn. They would be reasonably interchangeable in this scenario. You would just have to watch out to make sure you get adequate amounts of refund, but it would still work. So again, you don't necessarily have to have the full double Castoria setup for things. And the last one here is going to be, again, another 3-3x type of setup against a neutral foe. And you guys can see this is double Castoria with something like the 2004 Mystic Code. So in that regard, you're going to go ahead and pop all the Castoria skills turn 1 and then use the Mystic Code's 3rd skill on her for turn 1 in order to allow her to have enough refund. She will actually refund to full in this scenario, allowing you to just go ahead and pop the NP again on wave 2, and then basically refund to about 80% there and pop her charge skill for wave 3, completing the 3-turn loop. So that's a very simple, very fast sort of setup. You can also use a different Mystic Code in that scenario. Any 20% charge Mystic Code would also work in place of Fragment of 2004, so you do have that potential as another option there. So again, there's multiple different setups that you can use, and this is just Ibuki as the primary damage dealer and looper. Certainly, as we already mentioned, you can use her in sort of a multi-damage dealer type of setup. Now, with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at Ibuki's actual damage numbers here. And these are going to be eye-opening, not only for how good Ibuki is, but maybe sort of some of the other power creep that has happened to some of the other units at this point. So, as you guys can see here, some are Ibuki's self-buff only numbers. So again, these are neutral numbers, which you probably won't be neutral as a Berserker. You'll be 1.5 times effective. These are no supports, no Mystic Codes, no Craft Essences. This is just Ibuki under her own power in a neutral damage scenario. You're looking at about 25k HP here, being how much you'll actually do. And then in her anti-Earth super effective niche, about 41k. These are not bad numbers, especially when you consider that you can take each one of them and basically just multiply by 1.5 to actually figure out where you would be as a Berserker in that regard. And certainly it will scale up quite nicely. As you can see, NP5 is about even to, again, NP1 with super effective. And certainly the super effective at NP5 just being a whole bunch more better. Now, with that in mind, we also have actual numbers in an actual comp here. So this is going to be Summer Ibuki with 2 times Castoria and Oberon with a level 100 Black Grail and a maxed out Neo plug suit. Again, you don't have to have these exact specifics, just understand this is sort of optimized damage, and if you don't have one of these, like say you don't have a maxed out Black Grail or you haven't finished off your Neo plug suit, you can still achieve similar numbers, but they will be less than these no matter what. So at that point here, we can look at NP1, and again, these are still neutral numbers, so consider the fact that you're going to be getting basically 1.5 times effective modifier on top of this, but you're looking at NP1 here for wave 3. Basically, your first 2 waves are going to be relatively pedestrian, but by wave 3, you're dealing about 277, almost 278k here in terms of neutral damage, and then the super effective against Earth at NP1 is going to be about 458. These are very solid, good numbers, and yet there is competition. So we are going to end up talking about that, but very quickly here, just a gander at the NP2 numbers to see how much they do actually end up jumping. You get almost 100k from going from NP1 to NP2 in this scenario. And basically, again, from going, super effective Earth to super effective Earth, you're almost getting 150k at that point. Keep in mind, it is still neutral numbers, so obviously it goes north from there. But yes, you can definitely do solid damage, even at NP1, even at NP2. So let's go ahead and compare to our first competitor here, and that's going to end up being God Juna, aka our Juna Alter. God Juna is going to be using a double Koyanskaya Oberon level 100 cranking type of setup. Unfortunately, you are not going to be starting out him with Black Grail in that regard. He's a 30% charger, so at least he can start from a 50% standpoint. And again, his damage numbers are no slouch anyways. He ends up rounding out at about 287k, almost 288 himself right there at MP1, which is enough to beat Ibuki flat-footed. If you did include the man trait with Koyanskaya, this would obviously allow him a little bit more leeway in terms of his niche, but he would still lose squarely to Ibuki in an Earth trait. Granted, you're almost never going to have the scenario where you're comparing Earth to man, but it is an important thing to understand sort of the scalability of what these units can actually achieve. Now, the other important thing to note about God Juna is this number includes the fact that he may be dealt a debuff to the enemy. So in that regard, we are considering that to be sort of this sunk damage amount that is added to it. If you're in a scenario in which that is not at play, maybe the enemy is debuff immune or something like that, God Juna's damage is going to go way down. So that is something to keep in mind as well. But yes, straight up flat-footed in his best comp, our Juna Alter still pulls quite a bit of damage. Next up, we're going to have probably one of the primary comparisons to Summer Ibuki, and that's going to be Morgan Le Fay. This is going to be the exact same comp as we had with God Juna. However, the interesting part about this is remember that Morgan Le Fay has man attribute super effective damage herself. So we do get to add that on top of Koyanskaya's power mod that she gives people. So NP1 flat-footed will lose to Ibuki with no niche in play here. However, she does end up having the Fey trait, the fairy sort of niche that she can exploit. This will help out damage a little bit. And then she also ends up, and sorry, it's technically Fey and or Knight of the Round Table, but you also end up having the man trait, and all of a sudden the number just goes, it just absolutely blows up. And there's multiple reasons for this. As we mentioned, again, not only is it super effective damage scaling here, but it's a combination of super effective with a support providing the power mod that actually does help out with it. So boom, right there you can see if we're talking man trait, it's a no contest at that point. The node is just flat out better for Morgan Le Fay. Yes, you might end up in scenarios where you could potentially compare this, but like I said, it's really not going to be a thing because your primary concern is always going to be the highest health enemy in a node, rather than, again, like maybe some of the fodder where maybe your high health enemy is Earth trait and your low health enemies are man, then you're not going to really care about the man damage. But if your high health enemy is man trait and your low health enemies are earth, then you're not going to care about the earth damage either. So at the end of the day, really, it's going to be that high health enemy that is what drives it. But you can see, basically, Summer Ibuki's earth effectiveness is not going to outweigh the sheer insane scaling that Morgan gets against man. And obviously, at NP2, these numbers start to get pretty nutty, so it is what it is. Now, next up here, we've got Summer Musashi. Now, for clarity's sake, Summer Musashi is pretty much the most direct competitor that someone like Summer Ibuki can have. So, we definitely need to do our due diligence in covering this. Summer Musashi is going to be using a double Castoria Oberon Black Grail setup. Pretty much the exact same thing to Summer Ibuki. This is going to come with a little bit of an asterisk next to it, though, and that is, it does require you to be able to actually refund against the node. In a 3-3-3 type of setup, yeah, you're not really going to care. Summer Musashi is going to be able to loop that. Heck, even in a 2-2 setup, Summer Musashi will still be able to probably loop that. Where Ibuki is really going to show her strength against someone like Musashi is going to be when the wave has only a single enemy. Musashi does not deal with that well, as she is a primarily, again, refund-based unit. So in that regard, Summer Ibuki having the charge skill that she can pop on demand does allow her that sort of flexibility to be able to recover from only having to refund against a single enemy. Musashi might be able to recover, but it would really depend on what she's facing and how much charge is available. It might even require you to step down from something like a Black Grail in order to do so. But with this setup, you do have a ton of charge, you will have a ton of refunds, so depending on where the single enemy is, it may be an issue, it may not. So just keep that in mind, that that is a sort of issue that Musashi has, that she is limited by her NP gain stat, for better or worse. Now you can see here at NP1, you're dealing about 211. So right now, basically, with Summer Ibuki coming out the gate at 277, yeah, Summer Ibuki just is going to be the better unit in terms of raw damage. She's a little bit more adaptable. She has a lot more capability. But maybe some of you guys end up having a higher NP level of Summer Musashi. Maybe you don't care to roll for Ibuki. Maybe you feel like you're just already covered. That's perfectly fine. Keep in mind, NP2 immediately helps this out a ton, though obviously you could roll something like NP2 of Summer Ibuki. But maybe if you were thinking, hey, what if I just grabbed one copy of Summer Ibuki to help me tide over? It might not be as lucrative if you had multiple NPs of another Berserker in that regard. So keep that in mind as well for your considerations. But there was a second asterisk here, and if you guys noticed it, it's that this is the version of Musashi with no NP upgrade. You see, Summer Musashi just recently on JP got an NP upgrade. And I say just recently, it's actually happened a couple months ago prior now. But at this point, it is something to keep in mind. I wanted to show you guys the version first that didn't have the NP interlude, because this is where Summer Musashi is headed. So Summer Musashi at NP1 post-interlude absolutely trounces Ibuki in terms of damage. She goes from being trounced to trouncing. So at that point, yeah, it's a huge upgrade for her, and you can see she starts to get effective, super effective against the Saber niche, and you start going, what the heck are those numbers? Because that is just absolutely absurd, and it starts to beat even single target archers in terms of actual damage. So yeah, we definitely have some scalability issues here, but needless to say, Summer Ibuki will be still a good unit in the face of this, but Summer Musashi is just going to become a little bit of a monster in the future. Now, keep in mind, Summer Ibuki will have that 50% charge. She will have that ability to adapt to an oddly structured node that Summer Musashi might not. But Summer Musashi just out the gate is pretty much going to outdamage her. So unless you are in an earth effective node, The only thing that's really going to factor into her favor at that point is going to be that super effectiveness of Earth, and then you will finally beat her. Hilariously enough, this is only true if the Earth effective node isn't including sabers. Because the second it includes sabers, Musashi wins again with stupid numbers. So keep that in mind, that is the consideration that you will have, is that in the future, Musashi is going to get a lot better. Now, there are many other comparisons I could make, including to other neutral damage dealers. I think for the sake and the brevity of this video, I'm going to wrap it up here. But I do want to end this with another final thought for you guys that are considering rolling on Ibuki or not rolling. Keep in mind that Ibuki is going to be very strong, very usable, very adaptable. She will not be a one-size-fits-all solution for every node, particularly as we start to head into 90++ content where Summer Ibuki can be used, but she will not necessarily be the de facto go-to situation unless the enemy does have Earth attribute in it. Also keep in mind that while Summer Ibuki is a good unit, you may already have very solid Berserkers already in your roster. If you have somebody that is already multiple NP levels, you might want to really think about whether or not you need Summer Ibuki. And I'm saying this full aware of this because I do believe that a good majority of the community has already made up their mind, but I also believe that a good majority of the community basically has either an axe to grind or a hill to die on with regards to Summer Ibuki. A lot of people are going to tell you that you have to have her. A lot of people are going to tell you that now that Musashi's buff has happened, that Summer Ibuki is not worth. The reality is, neither of these two statements are true. You do not have to have Summer Ibuki. You will be fine without her. And I can say this from personal experience because I don't have her on JP. I can also say that just because Musashi Berserker gets a buff does not invalidate Summer Ibuki. She is still a very solid unit to this day and absolutely amazing in just her overall applicability being an arts looping Berserker in the same way that Summer Musashi is. So again, Summer Ibuki is a very good unit. She is a good enough unit that you should all consider rolling for her. But she is not a gotta have. And so it's up to you to determine whether or not you want to roll and if she's worth it to you and to what degree. Hope you guys found this video informative. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be covering Summer Heiress next time. I will see you guys for the next one. Okay, there you go, chat. I'm sticking with my MP2 Space Ishtar. Yeah, so it's really funny because Avalon gave me Space Ishtar. I can go ahead and show it to you guys. I didn't want to like really bog the video down with a bunch of the other neutral damage dealers, but just for comparison's sake here is your Space Ishtar damage numbers. These are neutral as well. Keep in mind that Summer Ibuki, like, so for instance, right, like, Summer Ibuki is, dear God, where is it? I have too many slides open. Summer Ibuki's at 277. Oh, Space Ishtar's here at 341. True, but that 277 is multiplied by 1.5. Okay, so she gonna win. So keep that in mind. But that's NP level for NP level. You guys already have, and oh, I'm sorry. I technically spoke too soon. I stuck my foot in my mouth. There is also the consideration of the arts up here that basically is on her third skill. We usually factored in with a failure because it can happen. But if it succeeds, then yes, she probably will still beat Summer Ibuki in that regard. The interesting thing to denote here is just, again, that obviously if you guys have a very powerful, robust Omni Looper already, you don't gotta have Summer Ibuki. Summer Ibuki is a good unit. But like I said, I am going to try to counter people's mantra that they have been chanting for the past 2 years that you have to have her. You do not. But I'm also going to say she's a very good unit. And she's good enough that she turns heads. You should all be paying attention to her. So that is the idea at play. I want you guys to understand how good the unit is, but take the pressure off of you to feel like you have to have the unit. It's so annoying that Spishtar has a chance to fail. Yeah, I gotta be honest, I wouldn't mind. Like, if they ever gave Spishtar a buff, I don't want them to give her an NP interlude or anything like that, but I wouldn't mind if they just made the third skill 100%. I don't think that's a crazy change. I feel like that'd just be okay, right? But yeah, so that's Space Ishtar. And here is Summer Kama, for comparison's sake. So there's without charm, there's with charm. And then here is, and last but not least, Karen. Karen kind of nutty, chat. Still to this day, nobody given Karen the actual like due diligence here. Nobody be paying attention to just how bonkers Karen's damage is, because she's a quick unit. That really is the truth of the matter. I feel like if Karen were an arts or a buster unit, you'd hear way more people talking about how broken she is. Why is Nito Alter always forgotten? Blame Avalon. I'm gonna say Nito Alter is still a very good unit. Overall damage capacity is actually not that high for her, but she can still do a lot of solid work. I just don't like Karen. Fair. I don't like Karen's baby form, so I'll just straight up admit that. EICY? Thank you for the follow. Big Red Throbber, thank you for the 5 months. Or Big Red TH Robber. That sounds better. We're gonna call you Big Red TH. Thank you for the 5 months, though. I appreciate it. Nopes, thank you for the follow as well. Let me check you guys over here on the YouTube side of things, because again, oh my god, Nightbot is just, it's massacring you guys. What are you guys doing? How does she compare to Alter Chris? Oh, I find it really funny that that was asked on both sides. Again, I don't have the numbers for Nito Alter at the moment. I do know that Nito Alter, like I said, she's usually a little bit lower on the damage spectrum than someone like Spishtar. So that'll be a thing, but it is what it is. She'll still be fairly... okay, Avalon straight up did y'all solid. Chat, say thank you, Avalon. Okay, so here's your Nito Alter. Okay, so Nito Alter coming in. Oh, wow, that's disgustingly similar. Disgustingly similar to Summer Ibuki. Nito Alter is man, so a different niche as well. Hello, Dance. I think they fixed Summer Shiki's NP with the update. That's what chat was just telling me. I hadn't realized that, so that's good. Which is funny because we don't have her NP interlude yet. But it definitely makes her a little bit more usable. Ultra Chris is also perm with a 100% battery. Yep. But to be fair, right? Like, she's also not going to be a thing until the end of the year. So, chance to fail is kind of Rin's thing. Need more supports. Indeed. Yeah, no, I do feel like it would be nice if we actually did have a proper meta support with buff chance, but I feel like that would unfortunately invalidate a lot of the, like, sub-meta ones, right? It's definitely a problem, I'd say, overall, that in the quest and the hope for them to do more, you kind of realize that they might not actually, that in doing so, that they would invalidate a good chunk of the roster, and you realize, oh man, that's not what I was hoping they would do. We don't have our arts buff yet, right? Any predictions for how many more unscheduled maintenance we have this week? 0. Because if I'm wrong and it's not 0, I'm very angry. Do you think it's time for Arjuna Alter to get an upgrade? No. So don't get me wrong, right? Arjuna Alter is a really like strong character and unit, but Arjuna Alter kind of dumb on paper, like actually kind of cracked for how strong he still is. He may not be the top dog anymore, but I don't think that's a problem. I feel like it's only a problem for people that want him to be the top dog. I feel like there are still plenty more berserkers that need the attention more than Arjuna Alter does. That being said, I mean, I don't think it's crazy at this point. It would depend on what the upgrade is. So, like, if we're talking an NP interlude, no, he probably doesn't need that. Could you give him a little bit of a nudge? Maybe. His carding is crazy. It's, yeah, still to this day. If you could upgrade Summer Umu, how would you? I'm gonna be real with you. NP interlude. And this is kind of wild because Summer Umu is fairly towards the top of the caster list. So why would I NP interlude her? Because it is an absolute travesty that someone like Caster Ku manages to beat like almost all the 5 stars in terms of damage. So I'm at this point of just being like, yeah, like almost the entirety of the casters just need to like leapfrog upward. I got an accidental NP3 Junao from GSSR. I mean, that sounds great. Like, again, extra NP levels of that dude's just going to make him pop off even harder. Is 400k plus? Oh, shit, my brain. I was thinking it was like 350 for some reason. When does Summer Musashi's buff come out on an A? It happened like, what, like 6 months ago, chat? Wasn't it something like that? So you're looking at about a year and a half until it happens. Is Caster Ku better than Ace? No, in the sense of all the shit that Ace can do. If we're just talking damage, at NP1, Caster Ku at NP5 will beat NP1 Ace. There's a reason why Casku is my main farmer now. It's really funny because while he does do a ton of damage, there are like scenarios where he just absolutely doesn't, and that's just kind of the caster restriction really screwing him over. But I'd say, yeah, he's still absolutely usable in a lot of ways. And given the fact that he is a 3-star, like he might be story locked, he might be difficult to acquire more of, but like he is a low rarity that is punching well above his rarity. On NA, is it worth it to pull Musashi and wait for her NP interlude over Ibuki if you're not struggling with content? So the only thing I would say, Dom, is that we are about to start getting 90++ content. Okay? And we were talking about this just the other day, the Arctic Summer World. Let me show you what a 90++ node might look like. And they're not all going to be this way. Okay? What am I doing? Why is it the first thing I look down and see is always some cursed image? So this is your 90++ node for the upcoming summer event. You have a 1 million HP in Kidu by the final wave. So 162k, 250k, 1 million. So you might not be struggling now, but you might be about to. I'm going to say this. At the end of the day, if you like Musashi more, yeah, there's no problem with you rolling Musashi. And especially for stuff like this, I've talked about this, chat, you do not have to 3-turn this node. But not every 90++ node has one. No, not everyone does. But I will say, a hallmark of 90++ nodes is shitty structure and very high health in at least one, if not two of the waves. So let's go look at the Yamatai Koku one here. So here's your Yamatai Koku. It is only a 2 out of 2. Oh, look at that. It's a 190 HP assassin. And then it's a 52k Nobu. And then it's a 1 million HP BB. Hi, chat. Welcome to 90++. The good news for something like this, and this is where you see people talking about EO so much. So EO is a welfare. Io is a arts AoE ruler who is anti-divine. Which pretty much just shits on BB. It just shits on BB. And this is why people have such a like good opinion of Io and think that she's quote unquote the best welfare. I don't think she is the best welfare. I do think she's a very solid one, but I don't think she's the best. But it's because BB has been the antagonist of a 90++ node not once, but twice. Because you also face Summer BB in one of the ones. So Io has been useful not once, but twice for 90++ nodes as a welfare. So yeah, it definitely worked in her favor both times. What you're saying is that I should raise my Arjuna Altar's bond to use him again for these nodes. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Especially if you feel like your Arjuna Altar is going to be able to like kick that BB's ass. Now keep in mind too, chat, at least because of this one, since this one's a 2 out of 2, if you don't if you don't 2-turn this node, it's not the end of the world because it's just a 3-turn. It's just what you're used to, right? I hear Saito can do the first 90++. He can. Do you know what else I hear can do the first 90++? Hoku Saber. And she's damage bonus. Your video just convinced me to finish my Shufu. Congratulations. It's the next Guda Guda, I think. Yeah. Yeah, this is next Guda Guda. My Estrella is going to kick ass. Oh, yeah. Is there a Buster single target looper? What do you mean? Like in what context? Because the answer is yes, but like, what do you mean? Zome Zest, thank you for the follow. You already ain't for a while though. I mean, chat, you already have one. You literally watched me use her earlier. Let me show you, chat. Let me show you. Oh, behold, chat. A Buster, single target, looper. It works. Isn't single target better for that? For what? For the first one? Yeah. For the second one, probably not, but debatable. I think they're asking for Summer. Bedivere? Roland? Kentoki? Berserker. Just use Musashi? If you can get the cards, sure. If you can't get the cards, I don't know about that. Can Kentoki do it, I wonder? Probably. Kentoki do dumb damage, chat. People have a tendency to forget how dumb damage Kentoki is. And it's funny because I haven't ever needed him, so it's why like I only have NP1 of him on NA. But oh yeah. Is 90++ node worth farming or stick to 90+? I'm actually going to do a video on that soon because I know people are going to want to know about that. But it really depends on the circumstances of your account. I see a lot of people just saying just ignore 90++. I don't think that's a good mentality to have. My mentality is that you guys should probably be doing 90++ nodes regardless. And then you either, if you're lucky, you 3-turn it. If you're unlucky, you just take more than 3 turns, but it's still kind of the best efficiency for you. I think where that concern really rears its head is lottos. Lottos are spicy, and that's why I need to make an entire video on it. It's not a simple one size fits all solution, basically. So my advice to you guys is don't be overly anxious about it, but they are certainly not as insurmountable as people think they are. Thanks for the answer. Yeah, no, it's no problem. Do they drop gems better? If so, they're worth it. I actually don't know that off the top of my head. I'd have to look at the drop data, and that's like... the only problem with that is it's probably only going to drop the gems of whatever enemies are in the node. So depending on what you're facing, you might not care. I will say they have started to put a lot of extra classes in the 90++. And I wonder if that's their way of trying to incentivize you guys to actually have the extra classes. I don't think it's a bad thing. I do feel like it's something that I've said that they needed to do for years. So to me, probably a good idea for them to actually finally get around to doing that. Also, chat, we're now in actual farm mode. I haven't gotten to farm with you guys here yet. So behold the farm. 90 plus or plus plus, my choice depends on what match each drop. Yeah, and I think that's actually probably a pretty good mentality. The approach I have for a lot of like normal events is that unless I need the materials for the plus node, I'm doing the plus plus. And it's probably just a case of like, hey, if I can 3-turn it, I can 3-turn it. If I can't, I can't. So for instance, we can use the current JP event as the example. I cannot 3-turn the current node without heavy RNG or like just some actual bullshit on my end. So instead, I'm just choosing to go for like a 4 or a 5-turn, and I'm still doing it. It could be argued that the materials in that event are better in the 90+ node, but I absolutely need that like smidge of extra efficiency of the plus plus at this point because I am behind on the shop. It's harder when it exceeds 3 turns in Oberon comps, no? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you that if you're looking at going more than 3 turns, you probably need to throw the Oberon out of the comp or save him until the final turn where you know you will kill. At that point, then you can rotate him in and have him, super boost your damage dealer to wombo combo. But like, I'll be honest, chat, if I don't have the damage to outright kill it with Oberon or something like that, I end up a lot of the times resorting to something like Arts, where I know if it breaks down, I'm still relatively safe and in a good position. I think it was last year's summer event on JP where the 90++ node there just really kind of sucked for me. And I ended up taking like 7 turns to kill it. I hated it, but dear God, was I efficient in that event. I saved so many apples, it was not even funny. Looks like Lancer gems are 36% for this one. Right, but so I guess the question would then be how much is that in comparison to a normal node that has Lancer gems? That does sound like that's high, but I can't say that definitively off the top of my head. And I'm not expecting one of you guys to like sit there and go do the legwork to find that out. If one of you wants to, feel free to, but I don't expect it. But does it drop eggs? Exactly. Why can't they just make it so that once a servant is bond 15, we get 30 Saint Quartz per 3 million bond? Why can't you just get free SSRs? So, it's the same question. And that's why I'm saying that, right? Like, I'm not like calling you an idiot or anything like that. I'm pointing out that the devs don't want to give something like that to us because they make less money off of it. And that's just straight up the truth. However, I would like it if they at least did something where your unit being at maximum bond is not a total and complete waste. I don't need some infinitely scaling bullshit or like some new way to like game the system. But I wouldn't mind, again, like I said, like the overflow mechanic that I've talked about. I wouldn't mind having some ability to continue to use my favorites without feeling like I'm shooting myself in the foot for Bond. And I think that is very true for a lot of players. So is Ibuki Berserker as good as she's hyped to be if I have Castoria already? Yes. The only reason why I say that is because you having Castoria already makes Ibuki very good. So I guess usually I get that question. Is Ibuki Berserker as good as she's hyped to be in comparison to, or if I already have Morgan Le Fay, Arjuna Alter, Musashi Berserker, right? So like I usually get asked about her competitors, not if I have the actual meta support for her. So yeah, if you actually have the meta support for her, she is as good as as everyone claims she is. In the sense of like, is she a stop, drop, and roll, everybody must have, everybody must acquire in P5? No. But you are going to see people running around flexing an NP5 Ibuki Berserker laughing at content. That will be a thing for a little while. I just tested Kentoki in P2 against Human. He did 1.5 mil. I think that's enough for summer. Or is it? Does Enkidu have the human trait? I actually don't remember. I don't remember if it's Enkidu or if it's the if it's Kingu. Because isn't it Kingu in the name for it, chat? But I don't remember precisely if it is. I feel like it's Kingu in the name, but it doesn't actually have the Kingu traits. Because I remember there was a lotto where Enkidu was one of the enemies in one time, and it was actually Kingu, and it was actually a different attribute because of that, and it screwed everybody up. If you don't have a good Berserker farmer, is it better to roll GSSR and skip Ibuki for the other banners or to get her? What supports do you have? You like how I answer questions sometimes by asking another question? It's technically very rude of me to do that, but it is one of the like best ways I can get to the heart of the issue and actually give you a proper response. You ask good questions. I know what questions to ask nowadays. It's you guys know I've done a long time of like going over units and looking at people's accounts and stuff like that. So I know kind of how to poke and prod you guys. If Oberon, Castoria, Koi, and Skya, I don't have Scotty. Okay. So in that regard, you already have all the meta supports that you would need potentially for either Ibuki or any of the units on that Berserker GSSR. In that regard, depending on your feelings about the GSSR, I say do the GSSR. That is the surefire way to make sure you don't actually get screwed. That is going to be a very cheap, easily accessible Berserker. So it is what it is. Also, keep in mind, you might get Musashi on there, and Musashi quite literally will have another banner coming up here. So you could potentially double down on that and get an even stronger Musashi. But you could also, in the same logic, just go after more copies of, Ibuki. So it is up to you. This is why, like, the big thing I always want to try to alleviate with you guys is this need, this pressure that, a lot of the community exerts to tell you that you have to have a unit, and to more reassure you that you can get away with using some of your favorite units rather than like the big meta unit a lot of the times. You might end up struggling in some cases, but not like you weren't able to do it. You just struggled. Or it's not like you weren't like you were up shit's creek without a paddle. You had no solution to the node, right? Sometimes the struggle is more fun. A little bit, yeah. In a lotto, hell no. I don't want to struggle in a lotto. Chat, you want to know where I get lazy? Lottos. I am lazy as fuck in a lotto because I'm not lazy at all in a lotto. I'm going a mile a minute farming a shit ton of boxes. But that's why I get lazy in them. It's why I try to go after like minimalist comps with very few button presses that accomplish the goals that I have set out for them. So at the end of the day, that's what I end up trying to do is I try to get a comp that is very easy to use. Is Arch better than Morgan? I assume you mean Arcuate? In some aspects, not in others. It just kind of depends. Like, I would say probably in terms of damage, probably not. But it does depend on what we're facing. Are we facing man? Are we facing chaotic? Those two things will actually change that answer. And similarly, are we dealing with, again, a scenario where maybe the factor at play that we are concerned about is not damage, but maybe speed? And that can definitely end up being a thing. I'm more excited for Sendo Riku instead of Summer Ibuki. Honestly, good. I am so happy to hear that, Suzu, because there are a couple people in the community that I've heard, and I'm so happy to hear that they are actually excited for Sendo Riku, because I feel like the vast majority of the community does not give a shit about Sendo Riku. And, like, it's sad, because she is a good unit. I do think it's unfortunate that she's coming out alongside, again, units like Ibuki and stuff like that, where a lot of people have been circle jerking them for years, and Ibuki is certainly worth a lot of the circle jerks. So, like, I get it. But yeah, Sin is absolutely, hey, here is your new standard for 5-star Berserker Looper as a quick unit. You know, a lot of people, when we had Consort Yu's husband, Xiang Yu. When we had Xiang Yu come out, a lot of people thought he was going to be 5-star Lancelot. And boy, was he not. So it was really nice to see Sendo Riku come out and actually be that. And that is really good. There'll be a Balbon Sith banner on the Tamlin Cup. I believe so. Yes? Okay. I was gonna say, is it the pre-banner chat or is it the actual one? With Burrito Mart? Okay. Pre-banner is Morgan, thank you. Yeah, I couldn't remember if she was the pre-banner, if it was someone else. Okay, yeah, and Chad, I'm gonna be rolling Burrito Mart. Dear God, I don't know if you guys saw, I got the banner review out and you saw what thumbnail I used for it. You know, it's damn, that's some hot burrito. That is not a gas station burrito. That is a Burrito Mart. And I am feasting. Jade, thank you for the 55. And Nick, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Hot Elf is hot. Yep. We'll have another banner with Coin of Light this year. Yes, we should. Towards the end of the year. I believe the LB7 like pre-campaigns, we get a bunch of them back, right, chat? Isn't that we get like Oberon, Koyanskaya, whatchamacallit. I have an NP4, 120 Morgan, and I'm still going hard for Musashi. Not smart, but I like who I like. That's perfectly okay. You know, and the one thing I'll say about this chat is there is nothing wrong with diversifying. So if you're like, oh man, but I have a really strong Morgan Le Fay, do I need Ibuki? The answer to that is no, you really don't need Ibuki. But nothing wrong with getting an arts unit if for some odd reason Buster just doesn't work for the current like node. So I think it's always a smart idea to diversify into multiple different card types. It's also why you guys are gonna see me roll Sendo Riku. Like, I'm gonna get a quick Berserker because there are times where a quick Berserker is really nice. Neo, thank you for the follow. But I do want that Ibuki. Yes, I do. And that's fine. Like, I didn't want to discourage anyone from rolling for Ibuki. I just wanted to counter the circle jerk of, hey, you have to have her. Like, she is a very damn good unit. So it's like I said, I wanted to alleviate the pressure on you guys. Enter Insane Court's not enough. There's too many good banners upcoming. True. Who are some meta people to roll for next year? Tiamat, Draco, Castoria, Berserker, Melisson Ruler, Ukulcon, Nido Avenger. I mean, I'll exclude Nido Avenger only because permanent, but Tez, yeah, Tez is actually pretty damn good. I will say, while Tez is pretty good, you absolutely don't have to have Tez if you have the Valkyries, and you should have the Valkyries, assuming you're asking me this question right now. Newer players might not, but yeah, the Valkyries are good enough that you don't have to roll Tez. If you didn't have the Valkyries or the Valkyries were never a thing, oh god, Tez would be disgusting. And he still is, right? I'm so cooked. I thought you were a streamer watching your YouTube videos on stream because of how naturally you were communicating. So now's the part where I tell you guys that I started out as a streamer and then I started making YouTube content. I once was paid quite a bit of compliments from my fellow content creators for saying, I don't know how you did that. And what they meant was I started and grew on Twitch, which is like absolutely contrary to like popular consensus for how you become a big content creator. Like everybody basically said, oh no, start with YouTube, establish an audience, then move over to Twitch. And I did it in the reverse. So it is kind of funny in that regard. But yeah, I've always just liked streaming. And with regards to my YouTube content, I never make a script. I, at best, especially for long form content, I at best have like a series of bullet points that I go down. But it is all like me regurgitating info off the top of my head. So it's how I do like stumble on my words some. It's how I do make the occasional mistake. But like, I don't end up doing all that. I just basically speak from a like both knowledge and familiarity standpoint on a lot of these things. They would not move Tez and Cuckoo this year, right? Correct. Yeah. Both of them are tied to LB7. I found you on YouTube first. Hey, that's perfectly fine. Like, I don't care how people find me. Like, I just hope that I actually like help people out and that they like me enough to stick around, right? You carry an Uno reverse in your wallet, don't you? No, I don't. But I do live in Florida, so there's that. Extemporaneous communication. Well, this is also how like some of my videos get a little bit too long-winded. But I've also said before that while I can be a little bit more laconic in the way that I say things, I pretty much do take a long time and go for a very long-winded approach to make sure that I cover all my bases and make sure that you guys actually get a good knowledgeable understanding of why things are the way they are. I don't just go, Summer Ibuki NP game good. I show you the numbers. I talk about how the fact that it's probably not as good as most people realize, but that it's still very solid, especially given the fact that she has a 50% charge. So it's an interesting thing there. You actually get a little bit more context than you probably would with other people, right? Cat, do your parents know you stream? Yes. Yes, they do. Do they know what my channel is? No. No, they do not. For good reason. To be fair, I probably wouldn't care telling them. I don't think there's like the worst thing that I do on stream is I curse, and my parents raised me never to curse. But unfortunately, in the time that I spent away from my parents growing up, aka high school, college, yada yada yada, let's just say I picked up the habit. I dig the longer videos. I don't really have questions after I watch the full 40 minutes. Right. And that's usually what I hope to do in that regard, is that I leave you with no questions, or, hey, if you have a question, it's a quirky one, and you can always feel free to come ask me, and I can try to answer it to the best of my abilities. I think that pressure to roll Draco will surpass Summer Ibuki's. Maybe. Right? Because the pressure to roll Draco is somewhat tempered already by Castoria Berserker. But I do think, again, Musashi getting that upgrade actually did temper a lot of the Ibuki pressure, thank God. Henris Bow, thank you for the follow. Fades one, thank you for the follow as well. Welcome to the stream, everybody. But people don't want to talk about Summer Suzuka. Summer Suzuka is a black grail looper. She is fantastic. I love her. I need to be using her more. Draco will be an easy skip for me. Yeah, she's not a gotta have type of unit, but she is a very good unit. Again, you guys know my stance on this. No unit in the game is a gotta have, but there are some units that are very just like smart pickups. And I'm going to say this, chat. I believe that your smart pickup here is either rolling the GSSR for Berserker 2, rolling Musashi, or rolling Ibuki. That's your smart play right now for AoE Berserker. In the future, for something like a single target, your smart play is rolling either Draco or Summer Castoria. Either of those two, if you pick them up, that's smart of you. You're going to be going far. Do you have to have any of them? No, you can technically make it without. But each one of them represents a significant shift in like overall power being added to the game. So it's smart to pick them up. You will have things easier if you do. Plus, Suzuka's cute, yes. I haven't seen much of Summer Suzuka. Yeah, I don't know why in that regard. I mean, to be fair, I haven't seen a lot of like caster nodes, and when I have, they've been like weird. Summer animation plus beast class is nice, indeed. The 3 card types, which is your favorite to play or farm with? If I had any bias, it's actually probably towards arts. But that just is because of the game's latent bias to it. I firmly believe that arts has an inherent advantage for not only ease of loopability, but also if the comp breaks down, arts has usually the easiest time dealing with it. Beyond that, I don't really have a preference. Like, I actually enjoy using all the 3 card types. Cuckoo the Poison Assassin and Nito are my targets for early next year. Ah, you're rolling for Nasu. Nier, thank you for the follow as well. After Summer, I'm done rolling until next year, and then I'm rolling Cuckoo, Draco, Annie plus Summer. Jesus. Yeah, that's par for the course for me at this point. I know I'm gonna end up rolling a bunch of units. I don't need the units. I just want them. That's the truth of the matter. Why they gave Walmart Rider effectiveness when that's the assassin name wasn't even that old? Huh? Was that English? Hold on. What? I'm confused. I started playing pretty late, so GSSR is always for older units that I missed. Saber 1 for this anniversary. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Because, like, Unfortunately, they don't end up giving you a lot of opportunities really to roll some of those older units nowadays. And I do think they've been better about running more banners, but well, it's always nice to have the options. Having more options doesn't mean you have more courts. So you end up still going like, oof, right? Kind of does suck that Suzuka Master Zones you feels bad. Yeah. Mary Anning to 120. Hot damn. The Ember grind is rough. Hey, listen. At least the unit is one of the 7 base classes, so you actually can grind the Embers for it. Because damn, is it annoying when you can't. That is so. I think a lot of people in chat didn't understand. I ended up grailing Bunny to 120 on JP first. And then on NA, I was actually going to go ahead and do Lancer Artoria instead of Bunny. So I was going to kind of flip-flop them because I did Lancer Artoria second on JP. I did it in the exact same order on NA because the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, I just want the one that uses the extra cards over and done with as fast as possible. And damn, was that a good decision. Trying to get the extra classes up to 120 is oof. You had to pick between rolling Ibuki, Musashi, Berserker, or Draco. Which one did you go for? Gameplay or waifu? Gameplay. It's probably Ibuki right now. Like, so even if Ibuki gets outscaled and damaged, the really nice aspect that she's always going to have is that 50% charge. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, 99% of this game is farming. So yeah, I mean, getting a single target's really, really nice for those annoying like challenge scenarios or even those single target enemy waves, but yeah, AoE just has you covered for so much. So like, I do believe you need to get a single target up and online for all of your classes eventually, but if you're just starting out, one of the best things you can do is just straight up get a AoE farming comp online, and that'll allow you to actually like start handling a lot of your needs relatively easily. How do you display your phone to your PC? I have a dongle and a capture card. Draco's my waifu, but I've already got Vlad for single target, so roll Draco. Who cares? Get your waifu, man. Is Bunny worth leveling up at NP1? I haven't. I have her, but haven't used her yet. So this is a really interesting thing because like I said, Bunny gets a lot of hate as well. I've seen people be like, "Oh my god, she's so trash," and every time I see people say that, I laugh because I know that they don't have any idea how to use her. Bunny's second skill makes her the most consistent card manipulator in the entire game. Everybody will talk to you about how Summer BB allows you to lock cards, but you have to first get lucky to even get the cards. With Bunny, I usually don't have to get lucky. I just get them. And that's what's really, really nice. That ability to give the entire party like 100% crit damage is super strong. It can be a thing where at NP1 you don't have the NP levels to handle like a final wave, but hell yes, you absolutely can get a lot of mileage out of her and her ability to card manipulate and crit things down. I used to not like Bunny, but then I was converted by Bunny Grail friends. Listen, I feel like anyone in this chat that has been around for more than a year, they know. They know how you can use Bunny effectively because you saw me. You saw the bullshit that I got away with in some of the 90++ notes. Like, I have managed to just absolutely make something out of nothing with Bunny comps, and it's really hilarious. Even to the point of the chat sitting there on one of the lotto rounds and them arguing with me that what I was doing was RNG and that it was gonna fail. And it did. It finally failed 3 hours later of constant running of the node. It took 3 hours to actually get a failure. It was just like, yeah, that's how consistent it was. It's not that the failure couldn't occur, it's that the failure was such a low percentile chance that it just almost never happened. And so that really is what actually works quite well about her. It does require certain node setups. It does require certain things to kind of fall your way. But yeah, if you know what to look for and where to use her, she can be really strong. Particularly in a rider node or a berserker node. Now, why did I say rider? Can anyone in chat answer rider as to why that's the reason? Aren't BB and Summer Bunny comps the thing? Yeah, it can be. You can absolutely shuffle with Bunny and then lock it in. And I got nothing but one ticket. I got Bunny. Wait, why would that make you hate Bunny? That should make you hate Merlin. Bunny was kind to you. Bunny showed up with one ticket. Merlin didn't want to show up. Is Ivan a good Buster Farmer? Yes, he's very good. All right, so because of what writers are weak to? Okay. Yes, because of what writers are weak to. So nobody actually seemed to get the question right. The reason that you can get away with using Bunny in a writer comp is because, let's think about this, chat. A lot of the times you're going to be using Bunny. A lot of the times you're going to be pairing that alongside Koyanskaya of Light. So if I Bunny shuffle and get rid of one of the Koyanskayas, what am I left with? Well, I'm left with 50% odds of getting Bunnies and 50% odds of getting Koyanskayas. And we're probably going to have 100% crit damage because we're going to have doubled up the card shuffle skill. If it's a rider node, that means I have a assassin Koyanskaya with 100% crit damage, absolutely like going full bore into a rider. Hell yeah, that works. Hell yeah, that does some solid shit. So it's exactly why, even though you wouldn't think it's effective, it's effective. I fell in love with Bunny after Musashi dumped me. Oh no. Bunny is love, Bunny is life. Exactly, Benoy. That's fair. That's why I gave up on Voyager 120. No, please. Oh. If you already started, my advice would be to still continue it. But it's going to take you a long time to get it done that way. Popped my Castoria Bongrail off on OC nodes. Nice. Yeah, I ended up with her in Bongrail status very fastly after getting her. Is Bunny your favorite Saberface? One of them. Like, Lartoria in general is my quote-unquote favorite, but I'm an OG Artoria guy. I basically got into the Fate franchise because of Artoria. I love her. So, in that regard, I do like all the Saberfaces, and that's why, like, I've become the Saberface guy, and just end up just collecting them all and P5ing them all, and now I'm attempting to 120 them all, which is psychotic, but it is what it is. I still think them giving us Destiny Summon a year early was cracked. I agree. I don't have any idea what it is that their plans are for something like that. But hey, if they're gonna maybe give it to us early because they're maybe gonna give it to JP again, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with us just perpetually getting Destiny Summon from here on out. Bunny is my favorite, but I am Poly Artoria. Okay, that's an interesting way of saying it. I've never heard it that way before. Hello, Ashuramiru. I think Destiny Summon will be in every anything. I think so too. I think it's an easy win from their eyes. It's a way for them to just keep getting more, right? Like, basically, they know that people will be hyped for it. And I say this because I think your average person really loves the Destiny summon. But I do think that there are like people out there that seemingly hate on it, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe because like they didn't want to spend the money for it, and I'm like, I guess, but there's no requirement. It's like it's just there for people that want to spend money. I really ended up loving her back when she was my only Omni Looper. I see. An easy win to keep me fishing for Maid Artoria. Exactly. What you got to keep doing. You got to roll for that Cad B. The OGs remember Cad B. I hereby vow. Mm-hmm. Your next super suck will be normal. How would I know? Is Maid Alter Squirtoria Alter? No. So Squirtoria is Summer Artoria. Maid Alter is basically Salter Summer. Why do I see a 524 Scotty? I don't know. I can't answer that question. I don't want to see that. I want Summer Lancer Alter. Me too. I saw Proto Arthur cosplay convert a brand new player to buy the GSSR in Destiny at Anime Expo cosplay session. Nice. That dude is either sucking people into hell or doing the like the Lord's work, right? Summer Scadu Tree is coming up. Congrats. You now can't unthink that for her. Wait, you act like that's bothersome to me when I was basically calling them Scotty fragments the entire time. Seeing servants grailed over level 100 without leveled skills confuses and scares me. I'm trying to remember because there was some point that I had that happen on my own account. Though to be fair, it was like I think a relatively like fast thing, and I ended up resolving it relatively quickly. So it is what it is. But yeah, I agree. I feel like if you're willing to devote that many resources to something, you should 100% be willing to devote like lores, right? What do you think would be least needing from next year's summon banners? Tonalico, Kenshin, Draco, Kukulkan, Bakatoria. Probably Kenshin, in all seriousness. It definitely depends. Depends on your own account. Because the one thing that Kenshin does that's really nice is buff strip. Isn't it that update came already? Which one? Is Ryder, Alter, and Castoria the only saber faces that aren't Buster? No. And I mean the ones who are actually Artoria. What does that mean? Are you including the X variants in that? Wait, oh crap, that was the wrong invuln skill. There we go. Shingen is next year? Yes. Next Gouda Gouda. Not this year's, next Gouda Gouda. Well, I think it would change with Destiny summons having 9 blank slots rather than by class. Ooh, that would be nice. I agree with that. That would be a really cracked Destiny summon because then it's 9 of every possible unit you want. Because I do agree that it is like there's some classes that I just had a hard time deciding for. uh. I do need a good buff strip, not gonna lie. Right. So she's single target buff strip, but she's quite nice for that. That is actually why I rolled her on JP because I had an AoE buff stripper, but I didn't have like a challenge oriented single target buff stripper that I could loop with, so that's why I went with it. You prefer buff strip on a skill or NP? Oh, on an NP. 10 out of 10 times. Because I'm just going to sit there looping against you. MHX Berserker is wild. She's motherfucking Sith Lord. You're damn right she is. Don't you have Dechi, though? Dechi is anti-buff strip. Dechi prevents buff strip. Which is also why I'm glad I have her on JP. In all seriousness, my JP is now covered. With the Kenshin, I now have every possible niche that I needed. So like there is no unit that I have to have on JP. If a new unit comes out, I just go like, oh well. Like if I don't like the unit, I don't have to get them. And that's why like the past couple banners on JP, I think a lot of chat had been wondering like, oh, why isn't CAD rolling? Why isn't CAD rolling? And I'm like, I don't need the unit. I don't. They're not my favorite. I'm gonna save for Annie. I'm gonna save for Summer, right? Like, and I still did roll. You guys saw fairly recently here, but like, I knew what I wanted, and I was waiting on it to come around, and that was Draco, and basically, God, who was the other one that I rolled on recently here on JP? Why is my brain going blank again? Is there another Arjuna Altar banner this year? I don't think so. I don't think it's still next year, is it? I don't know. LB4 Road? Wait, did we not already have the LB4 Road to 7? Or, oh no, that's still upcoming, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. For gore? Yeah, I do for gore. It do be like sometime. People don't think CAD be like, but CAD do. When is that supposed to happen? Yeah, it's whack. It basically like we've been like forever without one, and then we get LB4, and then almost immediately like that happens before Guda Guda, and then right after Guda Guda we get LB5. Like because I remember like a lot of us were thinking they might actually finish the Road to 7 stuff by the midway point of the year when it was first coming out, because they quickly got to LB3 and then they just stopped doing them after that. There was like a good like 2 or 3 months where there was no Road to 7 campaign. We know it's in August, yeah. Who touches story banners? Well, you mean like the story banner, or you mean like an actual banner associated with the story release? Because I touch story banners all the time. I just don't touch the story banner. I got a question. I got Arcuid, but only one copy. How can I maximize the damage? So, whoops. I keep touching my capture card. Take this lady, Koyanskaya of Light, pair her, get another Koyanskaya of Light, pair her. That's not Koyanskaya, by the way. Throw on probably a Black Grail or some other 0% starting charge craft essence that allows you to, get a crap ton of damage. And then straight up, you can either, choose to take a Mystic Code and have a cooldown reduction for that sort of thing. Or you can choose to actually start her out maybe with some starting charge and throw in a Oberon in the back line, and you'll probably get a little bit more damage out of that. Ba-dum-ba. Do I need to max arc second append to Black Grail loop? No. Yeah, but if on the third node it's a single enemy. So you're talking about like here for Ember Gathering. Yeah, I mean, like, again, I usually just always like delay my Mystic Code buffs for the third turn and stuff like that. That's usually my go-to. Or again, if you are using Oberon in the comp, use his third skill at that point. The good news about a double Queen Skya comp is that you could basically operate Arcuate in a way where you actually utilize her first skill on the first turn, then use the Queen Skya charge skills at some point later, and you can actually have her first skill come back. So that's going to enhance damage. So you would want to pop that on turn 3 in that regard when it came back so that you got the extra attack up and defense down. That's all Buster units? True. 100%. But that is how you're basically going to be able to maximize damage output. Unless I'm misunderstanding and you guys are talking about something else now. Are QMLB K-scopes worth it, or should I keep my second one split into the 5? Yeah, I'd say the second MLB is worth. Odds are you probably have some other craft essence that'll help you, even if you don't have an extra K-scope. So, like, you might have something like an MLB Imaginary Element or something like that. And at that point, you're probably fine. Especially if you're at 2 MLBs of K-scope. Cope scope? Yeah, you might even have something like Wizard Marshal. Is Saber Medusa worth rolling for? Yes, she's quite nice. If you already have a robust like single target Saber, no. I mean, you don't have to, but she's good. Like, she's a 50% charger. She has stun on her stuff, so she's kind of nice. You think it's worth to spend golden apples on experience? Well, quite literally what I'm doing. I mean, technically I'm spending bronze apples, but that's just because I'm trying to get rid of the bronze apples. I need lottery, and I have just 190. How many blue apples do you have, and have you made any? If you have a ton of blue apples, you're probably okay. Keep in mind too that Lotto is still not till November, so you probably will get more apples between now and then. But ask yourself how much you want to farm in the Lotto, like what box counter you're aiming for. That sort of thing can definitely impact it. What's a robust single target saber? Do NP levels matter? Yes, obviously. Obviously, NP levels matter, but like, do you have to have the additional MP levels? I don't know. It depends on what you're trying to do with her. This is sort of why, like, chat, to a large degree, like, I can answer all these questions, but you want the like philosophical answer that is like the catch-all, or do you want like the hyper specific to your scenario? Because I can't answer the hyper specific to your scenario because I don't know what you have. I also don't know like where your taste lies, right? Like, so somebody in the audience might be a huge Medusa fan. They're absolutely going to roll for Medusa Saber. Somebody else in the audience might not care that much. And then they're going to go, hey, should I roll for Medusa Saber? Well, because they don't care that much, maybe they don't need to, right? So for one person, it might be an absolute must. For another person, it might not be. In your opinion, who should be prioritized on the summer banner between Lady Avalon Ibuki and Scotty Ruler? I think it depends on the sort of like well-offedness of the account. If you have very good berserkers, I think you can kind of throw Ibuki out as a, hey, you need to roll this. If you lack Scotty in any capacity, I still recommend Summer Scotty. Proto Merlin is a very nice unit to have, but if you have Merlin, I am going to say that while getting her does allow her to open up things like the Invincible comp, the Immortal comp, to other stuff. Yeah, I mean, you're still largely covered by Merlin, so you don't have to have her. She's still, like I said, she's a good pickup, but I think, like, out of all of that, it's still going to kind of depend on where your own account lies as to what you want to roll on. And that's removing, again, taste from the equation and just thinking purely for gameplay. I do really like Summer Scotty. I do really think she's very strong. I do really think that everybody should consider rolling her, but I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people that are going to go skip, and we'll just have to see, right? Like in the end, these people may be proven wrong, or they may be proven right. At least as of this current point and time on JP, Summer Scotty is the last real big thing that they've done for Quick. So you know that no matter what happens, you still have like basically 2 years until a fix comes. So, oh God, not the immortal comp. Oh God, yes. But I want Lady Avalon for Kawasumi One-chan, Cad. Yeah, that's fine. Do you think by the end of Act 2 we will get in P5 MASH, or will that be an Act 3 thing? I don't know. That's a difficult one to answer because it probably depends on whatever the scope of the story is from them in their regards. I do think that by the end of story, whenever that the story does wrap up, or whatever we consider to be the end of the story, I do believe by that time you'll have a Bond 10 in P5 MASH, and she will probably be level 100. Good thing I don't own Merlin, so I can roll Proto Merlin. Yeah, I mean, like, even if you do own Merlin, acquiring her is still really nice. It's just, I think Merlin takes off a lot of the pressure, right? You're just gonna collect dust until I finally get Koyan? Oh, I wouldn't say that, because like you don't have to have Koyan to do stuff. Here you go, chat. You guys want to see it? I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you. Why not? Why not, chat? Yeah, whatever. We'll just go with the Black Grail one here from Burning. So look at this comp, chat. Now, how is he going to do this? Now, okay, so technically I didn't even need the K-scope on mine, but like, here you go. So let's just assume that I didn't have a K-scope and that I did pop Arcuid's second charge skill right there. Okay? So, I'm going to go ahead and do one of these. And we're just going to go ahead and pop off. Now, to be fair, I have an NP5, but like I said, I could have equipped something like a Black Grail. Embers? Yep. Okay. So now I'm done with the first two waves. Sweet cursor on screen. Oh, here, hold on. There, is that better? Is that better for you, chat? So now what? Well, I've got a Liz, and the Liz has 20%. Okay. Now the Liz has 50%. Now the Liz has 100%. I didn't take a support, chat. You don't have to have Koyanskaya. And so that would work with any 30% charger. Actually, with the current Mystic code I'm running, it would work with any 20% charger. Obviously, you could use a 50% or something like that, right? You can actually use Arcuid 2 50%ers and have their maxed out mana loadings, and that'll also work. So, yeah, it's a very, very adaptable comp. but the internet people said I have to have them, her. No, don't get me wrong. Like you should try to get Koya and Skya. It's very, very good for you, and she will pair very well with Arcuid. But can you use Arcuid without? Yes. Yes, still absolutely yes. People should roll for him because he's Tonoshiki alone. The right MC, you could do it with somebody with 0% starting charge. Yes. Well, you would need to have a maxed out mana loading skill on a unit that had no charge. I'm not going to say that's not a thing. I'm just going to say most people don't max out the mana loading skill on a unit that has no charge. For obvious reasons, right? Like, because you're probably not 3-turning with them. So, like, yes, you could do that, but Funny Fox Woman open up Buster team in general. Yeah, Funny Fox Woman, great. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to argue against not getting her. I'm just trying to say you absolutely can use Arcuid in a bunch of different comp scenarios. Will they ever fix instant death? I don't know. Instant death's not broken per se, but I do agree that it absolutely could function better. Like I kind of humored that concept in the instant death explained video that I did years ago. That like it's just one of those deals where yeah, it's certainly an interesting mechanic, but it almost decidedly works better in the favor of the enemy rather than the player. Since they got gimped prior to the change with it. Oh, no, because instant death itself was not changed, right? Like it just straight up. We basically have units that have instant death before damage, and then instant death after damage. And the units that have instant death after damage are almost decidedly better than the units that have it before damage. Yeah. What are your dog's names? So I have 2 huskies. And they are Nikolai and Sasha. The one standing up at the front of the cage right now is Nikolai. He is the male husky. He is big boy. He is heckin' chunker. He's not chunky at all, actually, but I like to make him think that he is. I just use arts to farm for my 110 Morgan if the cards can't handle it. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with like just going away from it as well. It's just like, hey, like don't feel bad about rolling arc. Arc can still be used, is all I'm trying to say. Nikolaj? No, Nikolai. Spelled with a K, actually. I popped the dual doggo pick redeem at the end of stream yesterday. Here's my poorly timed reminder as usual. Isn't that like, I feel like I owed you before that point, Jay. So I probably need to, wait, how did I low roll that so bad? Did I not pop one of the, oh well, whatever. Nikolai and Sashu, the Floofzilla, yes. But yeah, I have to have the time to actually take some pictures with them, and it has been hot as balls lately, so I haven't. But chat, look how the time flies. I didn't even realize it, but apparently it is 11 o'clock already. So let us go find somebody to love. Bum, 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 bum. Ba, 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 ba. Let me send you guys over to Mr. Fox first. He's online right now. Again, I will be back tomorrow, this time covering Summer Heiress. Oh, hold on, that's the wrong raid. I forgot to put the weird 0 in Fox's name. There we go. Anyways, yes. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for all the support. You guys know I always appreciate it. Hope to see you guys for the next one. If you haven't already, get on the Discord with us. We're always happy to have you. You guys can chill out in there, ask plenty of questions, or again, just absolutely talk people's ears off about FGO if you want. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be going over Summer Heiress. Go give Fox my love. Have a good evening.